580 Sports Talk coming to you on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Jay Gallan, Brandon Dorzinski, Dan Lucero with you as we've got plenty of Chiefs discussion today. We will talk a little bit of college football. Excited to talk with Paul Myerberg. We are going to hear from quarterback Jason Bean. The voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, will join us, and then the Chiefs are going to hop on a jet plane and head to Frankfurt. We'll get to something that a Chiefs player had to say here momentarily, that there are certain things that you just don't need to complain about, okay? There are certain things, right? One of them, a Chiefs player brought up, and we're going to get to that today.
All right.
We're going to get to that.
I'm ready.
So, plenty to get to. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Also, hit us up on our YouTube stream. You can go to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. Hit the subscribe button. Very simple. You can follow us along here on this Thursday edition. We'll talk with Rick Peterson. Big week of high school football. We got football tonight.
Yeah, we do.
We got football tonight. Highland Park, Shawnee Heights. 2 city teams are actually playing. Alert the presses. Can't wait for that. And then big games coming up tomorrow. Washburn Rural taking on the Junction City Blue Jays. And this is the right to get to the quarterfinals. I call it the quarterfinals. I think Keisha calls it sectionals or something like that. It's the quarterfinals. So we'll get to some high school football with Rick Peterson. So much to get to here on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. So we're going to start things off, though, and talk a little Chiefs, because one of the most popular podcasts right now in the United States involves a Kansas City Chief player and his brother, who also happens to play for the Eagles. The New Heights podcast was released yesterday. I had a chance to listen to it last night, and for one of the first times, you heard a very candid Travis Kelce. The one thing that I do like about it is they don't shy away from anything. And Jason said to Travis, all right, we got to talk about this. I know you don't want to, but we got to, because we're at least going to be transparent about it. Y'all sucked against Denver. What do you want to talk about? And Travis Kelce spoke pretty evidently about what is going on with the offense. And this is what Travis Kelce had to say about the offense, just in general. What's going on with the offense on his New Heights podcast yesterday.
One moment. We'll get there in a second. All right, here we go. Here is Travis Kelce.
The bad positions and them saving our tail. It's getting real one-sided. And I don't think I've been in a situation where we've stalled this much, like as an offense throughout the year, and definitely at this point in the season. We got a lot of guys that usually figure out how to get this thing going. And you know what? It's frustrating, man. Not putting up touchdowns week after week after week it's getting old. It's getting old to watch. I know it, Chiefs Kingdom. I know it is. It's not like what we've been in the past, and we got the best, in my mind, the best offensive mind in the game. We got the best quarterback. So this is it's unacceptable, and we all feel that way. So don't think that we're not in this thing feeling the urgency. We just got to go out there and do it.
So that there tells you, one, the expectations are high.
As they should be.
For this Chiefs offense with the talent that they've got. When you got Mahomes, you've got Reed, you've got Kelce. An offensive line that I've been told is the top 5 offensive line. You should be better. Dan pointed out that, hey, the Chiefs offense is still a top 5 offense. But the problem is that Travis Kelce, we as Chiefs fans, we're not used to top 5. We're used to top 1, top 2. And if you're not top 1, top 2, you're scoring in the 30s. Remember, I believe going into this year, and I'm guessing it is not the case anymore, but the Chiefs had gone from 2018 till this year, where if you combine all of the points from 2018 when Patrick Mahomes started up until this year, they were still over 30 points a game. Over 30 points a game. That is what Patrick Mahomes And the Chiefs offense with Andy Reid and Travis Kelce, even last year included without Tyreek Hill, you were averaging 30 points per game. Okay. They are not averaging 30 points per game. I'm just letting you know. In fact, how many times have the Chiefs scored over 30 points per game?
Just twice, right?
Twice.
Yeah, Chargers and Bears.
Once against the Bears, and then the other one against the Chargers. Now, if you want to go with the Jets, they could have scored a touchdown late, got to 30.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about that. But this offense we're not used to this right now. And that's where Travis Kelce says, you know what? We're frustrated. We normally figure it out by this time. Something's just not right. Which I think we all agree with this statement. Pretty honest opinion from Travis Kelce. Here is what he had to say about what needs to improve. All right, we've established the problem, right?
We've established that there is a problem.
Yeah, there's something wrong. All right, there's something wrong. Got to fix it. So here, Travis Kelce on what needs to improve.
Guys running the wrong routes. Guys running the wrong routes. Guys not making blocks. Guys dropping the football. It's frustrating, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge at this point in the career. Or not only speaking for myself, but it's a challenge at this point in the season to get this thing right now before it gets out of control and it gets really bad. One of the things we wanted to do this week was attack. As an offense, feel like we're on the attack. Like, don't go in there trying to feel the game out. Just be on the attack. And I think rewatching that film, Denver just had a lot more energy. You know, I think they looked at that 0-15 the last 15 times we played them, and went into that game a little bit more hungry, man. And that's making me sick to my stomach to feel or even say. But I think we gotta have a gut check, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and that's what we're doing. We're just talking about it today. Everybody's looking each other in the eyes, trying to figure it out and trying to make sure that we do this thing the right way, man. And just not necessarily burn the ships and everything like that, but definitely circle the wagons, man. And keep this thing tight-knit every single time we're in that building. Keep getting better, because that was a pretty embarrassing game. And at least for myself speaking, my coaches and my teammates don't deserve that out of me for sure.
All right, now, he's not throwing anybody under the bus, some generalizations there. But to me, there were two things that he said that they need to, really two areas, and then we'll get more specifics, okay? Number two is the energy was not there. And I don't know if it's because Mahomes was sick. Mahomes did not look like Mahomes. He wasn't himself on the sideline. He wasn't himself during the game. He did not look like the same Mahomes. So I will preface that. He was not the energetic, let's go type of guy. I was a little different from QB1 at number 50.
He looked like if you or I had the flu.
Yeah. So, but overall, and I'm not just talking about, but a lot of it comes from Mahomes, right? You feed off the energy off the quarterback. Well, just the whole team didn't have any energy. That was very, very evident that they came out super flat. Okay. I expect that to change, because when you get punched in the mouth, you got to respond. So I do think the energy will change. But there were three things specifically by the offense that Travis Kelce said right away. I mean, the first three things that he said, and it had nothing to do with the O-line. It had nothing to do with the running backs. It had nothing to do with the quarterback. With all three things involve the wide receiver group. He says right out of the gate, running the wrong routes. Number one, run the damn right route. Okay. Number two, dropping the football. How many drops did they have? How many drops have they had this year?
More than anyone in the league.
Drops have been a problem. Starting back at game number one, starting back to the plenty of drops this year. Number three, not just dropping the football, but holding on to the damn thing. And that is directly to, and it was ruled a fumble, so I'm going to say it. even though it was an iffy one, but it was a rule of fumble. Blake Bell, hold on to the damn ball. MVS, hold on to the damn ball. McCole Hardman, hold on to the damn ball. Rashee Rice, catch the ball. Sky Moore, catch the ball. And Travis Kelce, this is not a visual medium, but every single one of them he said running the wrong routes. He raised his hand while I was watching the video, obviously. Dropping passes, he raised his hand. Turnovers, he raised his hand. All of those factor on what team, what side of the, it's the wide receivers. Like, plain and simple. If Rashee Rice catches the football, that's a big game. He who knows how far he's going to run. MVS, if you don't fumble the football, what happens? Chiefs have the football. Good spot near midfield. Hey, McCole Hardman, if you don't drop the football, what do you think happens? You know, Blake Bell, and I think that was more of a, but it was ruled a fumble. Like, you got to catch the ball, right? Hey, Kadarius Toney, catch the football. Sky Moore, catch the football. Like, the way this offense gets better and gets out of the funk that he says he's in is, you ready for this? You know, it's someone, you know, and it's kind of funny at Western Hills Golf, when you get off the golf course.
Oh, yeah.
You walk across the bridge.
That stone.
And the stone, and it gives great advice. You know, you're upset and all that, and you're thinking about your game, and what does it say, Dan?
It says play better.
Play better! You got to play better. This is not hard to understand. You know, we talk about Andy Reid and the play calls, and does he run the football enough? Does he not run the football enough? You know, it comes down to those three things right now for the Kansas City Chiefs. Run the right route, catch the ball, and don't drop the damn thing. If the Chiefs improve in those three categories on offense, they don't lose the game this year. They're undefeated because what occurred in the game against the Lions?
Drop passes.
What occurred in the game against the Denver Broncos?
Turnovers.
I mean, it's very, very simple.
The last time we felt like a Chiefs offense was in crisis like this, you go back to that stretch of games in 2021 where they lose to Buffalo. They beat up Washington. Washington was terrible. And then they have that game. We'll go back to the last time they didn't score a touchdown in a game before Sunday. That 27-3 loss to the Titans. And then they followed that up with two games that they won, but the offense was less than convincing. Remember, I might have even taken them overtime to beat the Giants, but they beat the Giants 20-17, and that was a wretched Giants team. And then they only scored 13 on Green Bay and only won that game because Jordan Love was playing quarterback. So that was the last time. You have to go back that far to a time when it felt like, man, something is just not right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is not right about this? But is it Occam's razor that is the easiest answer is usually the correct one?
Mm-hmm.
Easy answer, turning the ball over. You know what the Chiefs did a bunch to start 2021? Gave the ball away.
Like crazy.
They turned the ball over 19 times in a 7-week span that started with their week 2 loss to the Ravens and ended with that win over the Giants. They were a 500 team halfway through the year, and they turned the ball over 19 times in those 8 games. And really, it was 19 times in 7 games because they didn't turn it over in the opener against the Browns. You know how many times they turned it over the rest of the year? 6. 6 turnovers in the final 8 weeks. And what did they do? Kill everybody. So it might just be, let's take a little better care of the football. Let's be a little more precise with what we're doing. Because a lot of times turnovers just come from sloppiness. You don't lock the rock. You don't secure it to your body.
And would you say that this Chiefs offense right now has been sloppy?
Yes.
Yes.
All the way around. So maybe at the end, we're looking back at this Broncos game and we say that was the best thing that could have happened to him because it got him refocused. It removed the sloppiness, and they got back to doing the fundamental things the right way instead of just doing them kind of halfway. Like Marquez Valdez-Scantling being sloppy with the football. Like McCole Hardman being sloppy catching a punt. Like Patrick Mahomes being sloppy trying to hit a hero shot up the seam that's not there, and it's an interception. Those little things, when you are sharper, when you are more precise, you eliminate those mistakes. And when the Chiefs eliminate mistakes, they're the best team in football. They're still one of the best offenses in football. So if the correct answer is the simplest one, then the correct fix is the simplest one too.
That's why and that's credit to Travis Kelce. I mean, he basically said, this is what we're not doing. Now, there are ways to if you still do these type of things, you want to know how you still score, you're better in the red zone. I mean, you're better in the red zone. Right now, the Chiefs are not a particularly good red zone team the last 3 weeks. And maybe it's just the Broncos. I don't know. When you go 1 of 8 in the red zone against the Broncos, that ain't good. I know you mentioned who's got the most red zone touchdown passes is Patrick Mahomes. And maybe it's just the Broncos issue. I don't know. But hearing Travis Kelce say that, as much as, I want to get upset with Andy Reid and his play calling, we all know that's who he is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. An elephant's going to be an elephant. He's not going to wake up the next day and he's not going to be, a raccoon.
That play calling has been good enough to
win 2 Super Bowls
be
and
with the
take
Chiefs
care of
are.
business.
Yeah.
So, that's the reason why, looking at the issues from a player currently on the team, the first 3 things that he cited had nothing to do with the defense, had nothing to do with the offensive line, had nothing to do with the running backs. It wasn't anything to do with Patrick Mahomes. Now, Mahomes didn't feel well. Maybe that had something to do with it. And, that's just a bummer of a situation. But there are 3 ways they can improve. And the Kansas City Chiefs can take care of business the rest of the way. So that was interesting coming from Travis Kelce. A very between the eyes analysis, self-reflection there.
I mean, the only question it raises based on all this analysis is it going to happen?
We'll find out. Maybe this is what they needed. Maybe this was the eye opener that they needed. They were rolling 6 in a row, feeling good.
Yeah, sometimes you just get got in this league.
Sometimes
you get got. You take your eye off the ball in a literal sense. Sometimes too.
I guess I'm more speaking of like the fundamental issues with the offense. So like the Chiefs are still going to win 13 games this year. Like I'm not worried about that.
You're talking about, can they run the right routes? Will they catch? Like,
yes.
And you ready for this? Drop passes. They're more of a mental thing. They are more of a, because guess what now? It's in the back of your mind. It is in the back of your mind. Once you drop one pass, guess what?
I'm sure you heard this as a football player, Jake. Like the worst thing to say to a player is don't fumble, because that's what you're thinking. Don't fumble. Don't drop the ball.
Yeah.
No, think about catching the ball.
Yeah. Coming up, there is one individual who's not happy about going overseas. Doesn't want to go to Frankfurt. Hates the international games. And he gives a very specific reason. We'll get to that coming up next. coming up here in just a little bit. Big games. Texas taking on K-State, KU, Iowa State, Bedlam. We'll get to that, plus the Big 12 schedule. Can't wait to talk with Paul. All righty. I told you I got an issue with one of the Chiefs players. All right. Because this is a little bit of, oh, woe is me. Oh, darn. Nothing.
The old first world problem.
I not even that. Like you're complaining about something that you knew was going to happen like 5 months ago. Chiefs wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling says having to travel to Germany for the Dolphins game, quote, sucks, end quote. You ready? I don't want to fly to Frankfurt. You'd rather play at home, right? This could have been a Chiefs home game, right? I can understand that. But then he says this, goes into detail. Quote, yeah, it sucks. I've got to find a babysitter for my dogs for a couple days. I know I've got a lot of fans over in Germany, so I'm grateful that we get to give them the opportunity, but it does suck for the players to have to be away from their families, or I've got to find a babysitter for my dogs for a couple days. Things we've got to take into account. But past that, it is what it is, end quote. All right, I'm going to explain this to you for a little bit here. If you complain that you got to be away from your family for a little bit, change your damn job, okay? My wife travels a bunch. She's away, 3-4 days at a time. I travel on weekends, right? If you don't like it, don't do the damn job. And I preface this when people say, hey, Jake, what are you doing this weekend? And I say, well, I'm going down to Central Edmond, Oklahoma to call a Washburn football game. And they say, oh, that stinks. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm choosing to do it. I'm choosing to do so, right? Hey, MVS, don't want to go to Germany, don't play football. All right. If you don't want to be away from your family, choose a job that you're not away from your family. Okay. Second of all, it says now that, I got to find a babysitter for my dog. Bro, this game was on the schedule in May. It's called a little foresight. You said first world problems, Dan. I would agree with that. It popped up like at the last minute, right?
Yeah.
Dude, you knew this was going to happen. So what you're telling me is you have no foresight on, I'm going to be gone. I need to have somebody take care of my dog. I should probably do that, right? Like, when myself and my wife are gone because we have something going on, we look at our schedule months in advance, in fact, right? Because we need to find a babysitter, or, if a grandma wants to come up, watch the kids, that type of thing. You'd be an adult, MVS. And then my last part is he's like, oh, yeah, I got to find a babysitter for my dogs. Bro, how much does he make a year, Brendan?
What'd you call me?
I was
Jar.
I was going to say Fulton.
His base salary.
I actually texted Fulton just a little bit ago telling him when I'm going to pick him up because he's going to do sideline for me. I'm excited to see Fulton, so that's why I mentioned that. Sorry.
His base salary is $8.5 million.
Buddy, you make $8.5 million. It's for 3 days. The going rate for boarding your dog is like $40 a day. Maybe in Kansas City's 50. Oh, and is that too much, MDS? That $8 million salary, you guys, that too much? You ready for this? Here's what you could also do. This is what we do. You've got family, you've got friends, but you know what else MVS has got? MVS has got, I'm a Chiefs player. Go on Twitter right now. Hey, I got to, I'm heading out. Can somebody watch my dog? He'd get it for free. Someone out there in Kansas City would be like, I'll watch your dog, MVS. I'll do it for free. Bring Duke, Rocket, Buck, whatever you want, Roscoe. Bring him over. I'll watch him for free. Like, are you kidding me with this? Like, this is the stuff that it grinds my gears more so than anything.
Yeah, like, on the one hand, yes, there are, as you laid out, there are human inconveniences to having to travel for work. And this is more travel for work than you generally have to do, because generally you do not have to go overseas for work. I understand that there are real live inconveniences, things that you have to think about that maybe you don't often have to think about. I get that. I get that entirely. I really do. Like, I understand where you're coming from. But to be asked about this opportunity to go play in Germany, you don't need to say out loud the negative stuff. You don't need to say out loud, yeah, actually this blows because I have to pay for a dog sitter.
You make $8 million.
Actually,
no one's going to feel sorry for you.
You know, yes, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to visit a new country, and we have lots of great fans, and the NFL has lots of great fans who get to see us play in person, and that's a really neat thing. But what about how it inconveniences me, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who I don't know if MVS is aware of this. He's not exactly in the goodest of graces. I know that's terrible English, but you know the saying, good graces. He's not in the goodest of graces right now with the Chiefs Kingdom.
Man,
after he coughed up that fumble last week.
I don't care if this is Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. Doesn't matter. You knew about this 5 months in advance.
Also, if Mahomes and Kelce said this, you'd get they would say it with a wink and a giggle, and you'd know they were joking.
Jeez.
I think MVS is entirely serious.
Oh, he's dead serious.
Yes.
Dead serious.
That all I can think about in this moment is not going over to Germany. Again, once in a lifetime opportunity. How many people would love to visit Europe and have never gotten the chance? And now your work, your job gives you this once in a lifetime opportunity, and you got to go play a game, and not just any game. It might be the game of the year in the AFC. It is a hugely important game for you and your team, and all you can think about are the ways it inconveniences you to the point where that's your answer when you're asked about it. Man, I don't know. That does not feel like someone whose head is in the right place. And I don't like being this guy about professional athletes, because you know what else they are? They're not just athletes. They're human. And so human inconveniences are as real for them as they are for you and me. But you got to know nobody is trying to hear this from you.
The problem is that you could. This is all easily avoidable if you just had any foresight. Brennan's like, I've dealt with MVS for 4 years.
I prefer not to speak, for if I do, I will be in big trouble.
Okay, there we go.
I will let you guys opine.
Coming up next, we're going to talk all things Big 12 football with Paul Myerberg here on 580 Sports Talk. Talking all things Big 12 football for our Big 12 breakdown with our Big 12 insider. He is the man who knows college football better than everybody. He is Paul Myerberg from USA Today. Follow him on Twitter at Paul Myerberg. Paul, is the Big 12 not the most fun conference out there right now? Boy, this is terrific, isn't it?
Yeah, we thought like going into this season, right, that with this weird 14-team alignment, OU and Texas still in the house, that it would be wild, that it would be unpredictable. And look, it's November 2nd. You got 5 teams tied for first, and you got 7 teams with 2 or fewer losses. So I'm loving it, guys. And it's not going to be the same ever again. So I'm glad that Big 12 folks can root against OU, root against Texas. I still appreciate that this has been a really, really fun year. And I think the last month of this season, the Big 12 is going to be crazy. So I'm looking forward to it.
Let's do KU first. Might be one of the biggest regular season wins in program history. They take care of business against Oklahoma. How did you evaluate that one?
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because I feel like every time we talk about KU, or a lot of the times the last 2 years, I'm always feeling myself saying things like, man, that's one of the biggest wins in recent history, biggest wins since this or since that. But I really agree with you. In terms of what was at stake, this wasn't like beating Texas and kind of putting a stamp on things early in Leipold's tenure. This was a win, a top 25 win to get you into the top 25, to beat OU in the manner that they did it, despite turning the ball over 3 times, despite giving up 450 yards of offense, really a remarkable win. So, look, KU is not a flash in the pan. This is a serious team. OU had been living in a degree on borrowed time. I'm not surprised whatsoever by the result. We said last week that this is easily a game that KU can win. But I give them credit for 2 things. One, they ran the ball like heck all over Oklahoma, even though it was not like the deepest, most varied running game. You only had 3 guys touch it. And also what they did on third down defensively was just incredible. I did not see that coming. And when you look down in the end, it was the running game. It was the ability to get off the field on third down that won this game for KU. So legitimately a top 25 team and an outstanding win. Like you said, one of the biggest in program history.
Paul, with that offense for KU, what impresses you the most, fresh off of a win like this and then the entire body of work for this season? Is it the fact that 2 quarterbacks, and a lot of teams don't have one quarterback you can trust to go win you a game. KU being a little shaky, but they've got 2 guys who can do that. The running backs are stellar. The offensive line's been good. The receivers are good. What impresses you the most about this offense, and what impressed you the most on Saturday?
Yeah, no, I think it is Bean. And I think you're right to a degree. It's harder than ever now to find QB number 2 because you can't keep them, right? I mean, guys like Jason Bean could go start at North Texas or go start somewhere else. So it's really difficult to do. And to not just keep them in-house, but to be able to tailor an offense that looks, it essentially looks the same. But nonetheless, if you boil it down, is allowing Bean to be in situations where maybe he's more productive than Daniels would be in the same situation. So that's the big deal to me. They've been able to get Bean into situations where he can be successful. He obviously was not that great throwing the football, but he had a big touchdown on that quick turnaround on the short field. He ran for 60-plus yards. He had a touchdown. So that to me is what speaks volumes about the quality of the offense. You can plug in QB number 2 and still beat OU. That's really something, guys.
When it comes to KU on the road, they're a dog. They're a 2.5-point dog at Iowa State. Brennan is petrified of this game right now.
Yeah, terrified. Very scared.
Ames at night in November. Halloween just a couple days ago. This can be kind of a tough situation. Are you surprised that Iowa State is favored by almost a field goal?
I'm not surprised, but I do agree with you guys that this is a nightmare game for Kansas. Iowa State right now is doing 2 things well. One thing they're doing a lot better. Let's run the football. I mean, their running game was just putrid through September. Really, really bad. They've done a better job. Hasn't been perfect, but they've done better running the football, taking some pressure off their freshman QB. And also, at the same time, this defense has been just terrific all season long. So this is a winning game, I think, for Kansas. It's a road trip coming off a huge win. I'm not saying they'll be mentally let down, but maybe they won't be as mentally prepared for Iowa State as they were for Oklahoma. So this is going to be a game where they're going to have to fight and scratch and claw. They're not going to be able to turn the ball over. You cannot give Iowa State a short field. This worries me. I'm not willing to say that Iowa State is going to win this game, but I'm having a hard time pegging it because I do think that Iowa State is a different sort of matchup for KU, and they're going to have to play a different sort of game than they played against Oklahoma. I'm interested in seeing what they have in their pocket because it's going to be a dogfight, guys. This is going to be a tough game.
We're talking with Paul Myerberg here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Paul, let's go to the K-State side of things. I said this is going to be the easiest game that K-State's going to play because Houston had no, they didn't want to be there in Manhattan. It was 36 degrees. They're going to get punched in the mouth by Cooper Beebe 70 times. Like, that was such an easy game to call. Houston didn't want to fight the cold, didn't want to play a physical game, and it definitely showed. Is that more about Houston or more about Kansas State?
I'm going to say 62.5%. I've got myself in a hole now. I got to do this math. Okay, 65% Kansas State, 35% Houston. Look, Houston is a bunch of in New York City, they call them kind of fugazi, meaning that they look really good, but they're kind of fake. They're a soft team, and they got just absolutely hit in the mouth by Kansas State. Kansas State, this is like the game for Kansas State, right? Like, you are almost perfect on third down. You protect the football by and large. You are highly, highly productive through the air on a per pass basis, and you don't commit any penalties. You control the clock. So it was vintage Kansas State this season and the last couple of years. And yeah, we all knew it. Houston had no shot against you. They are not remotely tough enough to stand up against the Wildcats. Yeah, so I like Kansas State in this game, guys. And I'll give a couple of reasons why. Number one is this defense for Kansas State, it is statistically the best in Big 12. I know they've had some moments where it hasn't looked like the best in Big 12, but they're playing extremely, extremely well. Malik Murphy last week against BYU, if you watch that game, he got into a rhythm in about the 10-minute mark of the second quarter through the end. He was productive. 2 early turnovers, though. And I think that that's a matter of a couple things. The fact that he's inexperienced, that he's extremely nervous and anxious, and he was going against a team that allowed him to kind of work through that. He's not going to have that opportunity against Kansas State. So the key for the Wildcats is this. Keep Xavier Worthy under wraps. It's not just as a receiver, but it's about keeping him under wraps in the punt return game. Because you saw what he did against BYU, and that was a big deal. I think it got them kind of focused and back on the map after a bit of a spotty start. And you got to be able to run the football. And I just feel like if you're Kansas State, the way that you're playing, the fact that Texas has to rejigger who they are offensively, I just like this matchup for Kansas State. I really do. And it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a close game. But I like the Wildcats to win because I think the way that they're playing right now is like the number one team in the Big 12. And I think if they keep it up, they're going to win the conference championship.
K-State has played Texas under Chris Kleiman, just absolute physical dogfight matchups, except for the COVID year. I don't count the COVID year. But 27-24 in Austin, they lose. 22-17 in Austin, they lose. Last year in Manhattan, Bijan ran all over them. Physical game, didn't win. How much of this is that K-State right now, despite having what seems to be like the physical matchup in the last couple of games against Texas, they've been out physicaled, and it just seems like this is the team that Chris Kleiman can't figure out a way to beat.
Yeah, and look, it was reversed, right? I mean, if you think back to right before, I know they've lost 6 in a row, but before that, I'm going to get the math wrong. It was 4 out of 5, 4 out of 6. Obviously, Snyder owned Matt Brown to a degree. It is a hurdle game, guys, for Kansas State. And if you look at what they've achieved, I mean, you've hit the New Year's 6, you've hit the Big 12, you've hit 8 wins on a regular basis outside of your COVID year. There are certain hurdles that they've passed to become, in my opinion, one of the top 25 programs in the country, maybe a top 20 program in the country. This is that last hurdle. And it's fitting to me that it's coming on a day like Saturday when there are 5 teams tied for first and there are eyeballs on this game and it is an opportunity to make your statement. It's a real chance for them, real chance for Kansas State to make a national statement and to beat to beat Texas internally. I think they'll be looking at that as like, okay, we've arrived to a degree. We got Texas before they left this place. This is now our conference. And that's the mindset I believe that will be for Kansas State in 2024 and beyond that. This is our league. But to do that, you've got to take this step forward, and they haven't yet. You're right.
Is the Texas offense a scary offense currently, or, hey, that's a scary offense if Ewers is at quarterback?
It's still scary, guys, because, look, they have talent on the field like, Brooks and Worthy and these guys that can take a play 70-plus yards. So you've got to be on a constant state of alert. But the truth is that at this point, Murphy's not going to be able to distribute like Ewers does. And Ewers is not a finished product. I do not believe for a second he's played like a first-round draft pick this season. He's had moments, but I don't think he's hit those expectations yet. But he can distribute the ball in a way that Malik Murphy just simply cannot. Maybe not now, or definitely not now, and maybe not ever. So that's the issue, is that you're losing your point guard, you're losing the guy who has the ability to go sideline to sideline through the air. And I think that's a real issue for Texas. So they're much less frightening to me. But at the same time, maybe there's a different aspect of Murphy's game that you have to watch. Maybe there's something new that they can do with 2 weeks of him being the number one guy at practice. So you got to be on your heels and be ready for it. But yeah, they're not as scary without Ewers. They're just not. The offense does not frighten me as much with Murphy under center.
Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline is Paul Myerberg from USA Today for our Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. We do it every Thursday at this time on the program, talking about the biggest Big 12 games of the week, as well as some other college football news and notes as well. With Paul, you can find on Twitter at Paul Myerberg. Paul, Bedlam is Saturday as well, and pointing in Oklahoma State's favor is the fact that if K-State's not the hottest team in the Big 12, it's definitely the Cowboys, who have played some great football since Mike Gundy discovered that Ollie Gordon was on his team. Pointing in Oklahoma's favor is that it's Bedlam, and they never lose Bedlam. How do you handicap this matchup, and who do you think has the edge? Is it Oklahoma State coming in hot, playing at home, and getting maybe to kick sand in Big Brother's face one more time? Or is it Oklahoma in a bounce-back spot here?
Yeah, it's so funny, right? So in a vacuum, I would look at this game and look at what Oklahoma State has done of late and look what Oklahoma has done, specifically the last 2 weeks. And I would say to myself, okay, I got Mike Gundy. I've got a picked-off Oklahoma State team. I've got a Heisman candidate, Ollie Gordon. And I've got a team that is rolling. So you would take Oklahoma State, except for the fact that they never beat Oklahoma. They just never do. So I'm going to take OU just because history is our guide. But look, you cannot discount the way that Oklahoma State has played of late. And look, we buried them, like we said last week. We buried them after South Alabama and Iowa State, and they brought their shovels, and they are in the mix to win this thing. So I'm taking OU because of history, but I know I'll be watching this, because if this is the last Bedlam, I mean, for the foreseeable future, I want to catch it. So I'm excited for this game. I think it's going to be typical Bedlam. But I think in the end, OU's a more talented team. They know how to beat Oklahoma State. I think they get it done.
Paul, I'm going to not so fast you Lee Corso here. This isn't your normal. This isn't Oklahoma. This is a different Oklahoma. KU can beat Oklahoma. This is a different Oklahoma. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to take the Pokes, and I'm going to take them to win outright. Plus, if you're going to give me 5.5, give me the Pokes.
Yeah. Hey, look, wouldn't it be incredible, right? We talked about Oklahoma and Texas for 2 months. Like, we just talk about it. Then on December 3rd, it's Oklahoma State, Kansas State for the Big 12 championship. That would be something. I'm rooting for that. Because obviously, if this is how it unfolds on Saturday, K-State and the Cowboys win, then shoot. I mean, that's the way it's headed, right? Both those teams are 5-1.
There is a Big 12 game tonight, and it is an important one for the future fortunes of TCU and Texas Tech. There's a very real chance that Texas Tech does not go to a bowl this year if they lose at home tonight in Lubbock. They would drop to 3-6 and would have to win out just to reach bowl eligibility, where TCU comes in having played really well in Lubbock in this series in recent years. How do you peg the desperation meter of this game? Is it higher for Texas Tech, or is TCU also coming at this game at a place where their desperation meter is pretty high?
Yeah, look, I mean, both these teams need a win to go to a bowl game. TCU needs to win this game because they get Texas and Oklahoma later this month. So they need this one to get to 6. Texas Tech, obviously, at 3-6 is not going to make it. 4-5, they might scratch their way out. I think it's Texas Tech, guys, because of the hype around this team going into the season. The fact that they had opportunities early against Oregon and Wyoming to get off on a hot start. They didn't. We thought they would rebound. They haven't. There are a lot of things at stake for Tech from a recruiting aspect, from an energy aspect, an optimism aspect. So I think they need to get it. Having said that, I do think TCU wins this game. I know TCU against Kansas State last time out was an abomination, but they've had a little bit of time to lick their wounds. So I like TCU in this one. Like you said, they do well in Lubbock. And Texas Tech is just too unpredictable at this point. So TCU moves to 5-4 in my mind.
We have agreed that Cincinnati is the worst team in the Big 12, but the battle for the second worst team, or the battle to not be the second worst team, may be going on in Waco on Saturday as Houston takes on Baylor. When you look at that game, I mean, it's not going to be terribly well played, it doesn't feel like, but is that a game that Houston can go win?
Yeah, I think they can win this game. Baylor's the worst team in the Big 12. We probably would be saying that if they didn't have that UCF miracle. So this is a game that Houston can win. And the fact that we're saying that is an embarrassment for Baylor, because I mean, they're 2 years removed from an outstanding year. Matt Rule left Dave Aranda a full cupboard, and they are sliding. So this is a game that I would not. I would suggest that no one watches this game. I would suggest that we boycott this game. Like I'm looking. I just brought this up on my screen, this like the game page. I'm looking at it, and like my eyes are like starting to like get a little bit heavy. So this is going to be a boring game. But it's for the second to last place in the Big 12. I still think, guys, that Houston is the worst team in the Big 12. And I hope that the standings reflect that in the end, because I really and truly believe that they are a terrible.
Well, somehow, Paul, we were able to dig up an even worse matchup for our dumpster juice game of the week. Give you a chance.
Which, by the way, UMass won.
They won. Unbelievable. So what? I'm like 2-3.
Yes, we're fading you on the dumpster juice game at this point. But the dumpster juice game of the week, we go to the American, Charlotte at Tulsa.
Oh, my favorite coach.
Yes, Biff Poggi throwing guys off the team or benching guys at Charlotte. The vibes are terrible. Tulsa gave up 69 points last week. Not very nice. What do you make? Who's going to win this matchup? Tulsa's a 4-point favorite.
Yeah, Charlotte's been my train wreck team of the season. Like they are like it's just incredible the stuff that is happening to them and what Biff Poggi is doing on a weekly basis. So I appreciate them. Tulsa's very bad. They're still better than Charlotte. Charlotte's only win in conference is East Carolina. East Carolina is really, really bad. So I'm taking Tulsa, guys. I'm taking Tulsa big. Let's do it. Let's go. Tulsa big. I'm looking right now. They're a 4-point favorite. They're not just going to get that 4-point win. I'm also seeing the over at 47.5. They're going to cover -4, and we're going on the over.
Ooh.
Let's do this.
A little two-leg parlay. All right. All right,
Yeah,
Paul.
let's do it.
Who do we got in the Big 12 title game? Who do you got?
What are we doing? I got Oklahoma State and Kansas State. We can't backtrack now. We're at the end of our segment. We've already said that Kansas State, Oklahoma State are going to win. So
okay.
I got to go with the Pokes and the Wildcats. That's going to be the lowest rated Big 12 championship game ever. But I'm here for it. I love it.
All righty. Big game to the state to the east of us. Do you like Georgia or Missouri?
Oh, I like Georgia in this one. Let's get real. Missouri, nice season. Missouri, they've done a nice job. They're 7-1. Luther Burden is the first round pick, and you guys know him. He can ball.
Yep.
But they're playing Georgia, so let's just recalibrate. Georgia's going to win this game. Good year for Missouri though, but you're not going to beat Georgia. That's not going to happen.
All righty, Paul, we appreciate the time, my friend. We will recap a phenomenal weekend of football coming up next week. Should be a lot of fun.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Paul Myerberg. Love Paul.
He's the best.
Fantastic.
He's the best. Fading him hard. I was leading Tulsa -4, but I think I got to fade him on the dumpster juice picks. He's been struggling.
Also, you're on board with Oklahoma. Brennan's on board with Oklahoma. Oh! Lone Wolf. I'm going with the Pokes, baby. -5, +5.5. I haven't decided if I'm just gonna take the guaranteed win of Oklahoma. I'm telling you this right now. I'm taking the Pokes to cover 5.5.
All right.
Like, give me I think the Pokes can win, and you're gonna give me 5.5.
All right.
Sounds good. I might regret that later. Coming up, we're gonna hear from Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy. 2, 580 Sports Talk coming to you on this Thursday. Thank you so much for stopping by. Jake LeBon, Brendan Dorzinski, Dan Lucero with you. We've got our Louis Toyota High School Game of the Week. 2 city teams. Shawnee Heights, Highland Park, 5A playoffs. Tonight, 6:30 pregame coverage, 7 o'clock kickoff from Hummer Sports Park. The winner probably gets Topeka, just Topeka in general nemesis, Blue Valley Southwest.
We can be specific. Seaman Vikings nemesis, Blue Valley Southwest.
They also beat Topeka West in basketball in a sub-state final.
That's true.
A couple of years ago.
Nemesis.
Yeah.
They're like
they're
like the kryptonite of the capital city.
That's the team that last couple of years, especially the first time they beat Seaman in that stretch of knocking off the Vikes.
Timberwolves, right?
Yeah, the Timberwolves. They had a losing record, but Pistol told us, in fact, on the show, like, hey,
they're good.
They play in a really tough league, so don't just trust the record. Now they still play in a really tough league, and they are 8-1.
Yep.
So
the
that tells you how good that team is.
Winner of Shawnee Heights versus Highland Park will take on the winner of that game, which will be Lansing versus Blue Valley Southwest. So that'll be coming up tonight. We're going to talk with Rick Peterson.
Yes.
Bottom of the hour.
We should also note that is not the only game we are doing this week.
Well, I'm just talking about tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll
tonight.
also have Washburn Rural Junction City tomorrow.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with team. I'm going to go with the blue team.
Wow. Bold statement.
Yeah.
Really going out on a limb.
Yeah. Kind of like picking the Tigers when Auburn or LSU or Missouri or, insert other Tiger team here. Anyway, we will get to either or over under coming up in just a little bit, but there were a few things that the assistant coaches had to say, the coordinators today for the Chiefs. And I want to get to that. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Check us out on our YouTube page. As always, interact with us on the comments. Dave Tobe. He spoke about Nicole Hardman catching punts, when to catch them, when not to catch them, how does it all work? And here's what Dave Tobe had to say to the media today.
I've talked about this a lot of times, and if the punters today, they can put the ball in a 1, they hit it at the 5 and they can put it in a 1. So in his case, if you looked at the tape and saw, that situation, he did the right thing, trying to field the football. It was wide open. There was nobody there. He's just got to do the routine things routinely, which is catch the football, keep his elbows tight and take care of fundamentals, and we would have been fine. We get the ball possessed, and he probably could have had 10, 15 yards on the play. I mean, that's what you want to do there.
Do things change at game time?
It changes. It would change, like late in the game, like say the situation where, we'd tell them before they got on the field that, hey, we're going to let this one bounce no matter what. We're getting the ball back. We're going to win the game. But in that situation there, I mean, he was wide open. He made the right decision. You just got to catch the ball.
Is that in every, we're just talking theoretically.
It's not a cut and dry thing. It's not a 10 yards. That's an old rule. That's an old thing.
But what I was saying is, on each return, do you go to the returner and say, this
yes. Oh, yeah. Every time.
Is that just, listen, you needed a spark. It was a bad day at the office all around. So was that part of the?
Yeah, we had a spark with the field goal block. I mean, that's what we do on special teams. We provide sparks, and that situation there, if he just catches the ball and gets 10, we're not playing football in the 1, because if he lets it bounce, it's going to stop and, could possibly go in the end zone. But really, I mean, kick punters put the ball on the 1 now. That's what they do. So field it.
So that is what Dave Tobe had to say. So Dave Tobe disagrees with the three of us because I do not catch it if it lands at the 5-yard line. I will risk it. And if it is at the 1-yard line, so be it. Because you want to know what happens? We get the ball. All right. My biggest issue here is, okay, if you feel like punters are so good now, if it lands at the 5, it's going to go to the 1. Like Dave Tobe says, like it's going to the 1. Like if you didn't catch it, Chiefs get it at the 1. All right. If you feel like that, that's fine. The problem I have is the guy catching the punt is not reliable.
Yeah, that's the big problem for me.
That's the problem. Last year, he muffed a couple punts. This year, he muffed a punt. That is my biggest issue, is not, the decision, okay, he was, that's a Dave Tobe decision, okay? And he said, you just heard Dave Tobe. He tells the punt returner every single time what to do in this situation. Also, if you don't have enough confidence that your punt returner can catch a punt even when you're going to win the game, and you tell that punt returner to let it bounce, he shouldn't be your punt returner. You should be able to catch a punt if you're up 50, if you're down 50. You heard him say right there, well, we tell him, we're not even going to catch it. We'll just let it bounce. We're going to catch the ball and let it bounce, and then we're going to win with it. No, the answer is if you can catch it, go catch it, because you should have somebody who can catch it. You want to know who can catch it? Who can catch it for the Chiefs? We're going to say who did catch it for the Chiefs.
Washington. Yeah, Montreal,
Washington. That's my problem. Like my problem with the punt return is that in certain instances, you don't risk it. I'll risk it going for, in terms of Yeah, we need a spark. You know what we really needed right there? The ball. That's what we really needed. And Hardman to me is not a guy that you just say, "Yep, he's got it. We're not worrying about it," right? He's not, Tyler Lockett, who is, really good at fielding punts. He's not a JJ Letcher. Hell, if JJ Letcher wanted to catch the ball at the 5-yard line, great. Because I know he's going to catch it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Former Washburn guy. Like, if I know you're going to catch it, I don't care what you do. I don't know if McCole Hardman's going to catch the punt. I really don't. Like, it's one of those deals where, McCole Hardman catching punts, he's going to muff one. The question is, at what time? Is it after 3 punts, 4 punts, 5 punts, 6 punts? Like, it's going to happen. It's one of them long fuses, and all of a sudden, sometimes, it's just going to go off. It will, because that's what's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen this week against the Dolphins. But right now, if you had to tell me, will he muff another punt the rest of the year? Give me, yes, he will. He will. Like, that's my problem. I disagree.
How many punts has he muffed in his career?
Well, I'm sure we can find out, but it feels like he muffs it. Just the Chiefs in general. Like, that's the problem. They don't have a punt returner. Like, last year, they had multiple guys. Now, does it work out sometimes? Yeah, it does. Look at the Super Bowl, right? Yeah, sure, it works out. But are we going to just say, well, we're going to lose some games because of our punt return. We're going to win some games because of our punt return. It's just the way the Chiefs are. So
that's dumb, though. Like, you should never say we are going to win some or lose some. But we're on the same page.
What McCole Hardman does for you on the return, or what he does on the offense, to me right now, doesn't say, oh yeah, we got to get rid of our punt returner, who actually did a good job in Montreal, Washington. Actually did a good job. Let's go to the defensive side of things, and we'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo. Spags, his first question: how do you stop Tyreek Hill? This is what Spags had to say.
Oh man, I don't know. Get him on your team. Can we get him back on our team? That'd be the best way to stop him. Listen, we know he's elite, and he's going to certainly be all fired up for this game. But we have guys. I was looking at it yesterday or the day before. I was trying to think of who in our secondary has gone against Tyreek. It's only LJ, I believe, because all the young guys have not really felt. And the one thing about Tyreek and some of the other young guys were asking, if you guys remember, he practiced as hard as he played. So when our guys would go against him in practice, you were like getting a game day Tyreek Hill, not like, some guys that go about 80%. So maybe, hopefully, there's some carryover there and LJ's used to it. But he's the only guy that's really gone against him. So we know what we're dealing with. We know what the speed. We're cautious of it. Everybody's got to know where he is, because it feels like they're trying to get him the ball a lot.
When it comes to the game with the linebackers and the depth right now, how concerning, especially with the speed of the Dolphins?
Yeah, it's a great point. Listen, Nick and Willie are speed linebackers. I mean, they cover as much ground as anybody in this league, and we're not sure where Willie's at right now, and Nick we know is not going to play. We're just going to have to rely on the guys we put in there. Now, Drew certainly has been a run around real fast, and you guys can see that. Jack will step in there if he has to. Leo will step in there, and he made some plays for us last week. So I feel confident in the guys that we'll put out there. We certainly would like to have Nick and Willie, but we'll see what happens with that. And just if we don't have them, we'll use the guys we got and rally around that.
How quick can Darius work into this?
Yeah. Well, the one good thing about Darius is he was here. And the other thing we remembered when we first brought Darius here, and if you guys remember, he kind of had like a redshirt year because he had that injury, so he didn't do anything the whole first year. But what we knew right from the beginning, Matt House was here at the time, and we interviewed Darius, was a very cerebral linebacker. Like, he's really smart. So I think he'll pick up things quickly. And if we got stuck in a situation he had to go, I mean, at least we know he's had parts of the system before, which is good.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. You mentioned L'Jarius Sneed. He had that run of a number of penalties.
Yeah.
I asked this of Drew. He was pretty guarded, to be frank, about the answer on it. But I know you guys scout the refs and like, hey, this is a crew that calls a lot of this. They're really watching for this. I'm just curious, how much does your scout of the officials end up being what they are? Like, how accurate does it end up being game to game, or is that?
That's a legitimate question. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Like, one thing I don't do is I don't look at, I look at it before our game, but then I usually don't go back and say, Oh, they stuck to it. They didn't stick to it. It's interesting. We get that all the time. And there are times when I will talk to the guys, bless you, about the officiating crew. However, like, for example, if all of a sudden the officiating crew says they don't call a lot of holding penalties or DPIs, it would be hard for me to stand up there and say, look, this crew doesn't call them. So we're very careful. We really just try to play the game clean, to be honest with you. I talk with them a lot about, like you get in a 3rd and 18, a 3rd and 20. Let's be smart, right? Why take a 5-yard holding penalty that's an automatic first down? So I talk more in terms of being smart with the things you can and can't get away with.
One of the things a lot of people have said in the preview of this game is that the way to do something to the Dolphins is to get them off rhythm. It's so much the timing thing. And you look like you might have a group up front that can help do that. How big a key is that going to be for your front four, especially to get back there and kind of get them off there?
Yeah, huge. It's a rhythm passing game, and he's really good at it. What I think is really challenging, I was just talking to Mitch about it as I was coming in here. It's one thing to be a drop back team and be rhythm, because you as soon as the lineman pass set, you're in a pass rush mode as a D lineman, and then you go from there. This team has a lot of play action rhythm passes. So everybody up front has to at least respect the fact that it could be a run. And then boom, all of a sudden it's a pass play and he's getting the ball out really quick. That's what he's really good at. I think that's probably one of the main reasons for the success and the high percentage completion rate. What would work best for us is if we can try to listen, we're talking about the pass. They run the ball as good as anybody. And so we got to begin there. And if there was a way, somehow, some way we could get the game one-dimensional, then we have a chance to do what you were talking about. Up until that point, it's going to be a little bit difficult. We got to play it honest, stop the run first, hopefully get them in longer down in distances so we know what they're going to do, and then try to disrupt the.
So that is what Steve Spagnuolo had to say. Always helpful if you have Tyreek Hill on your team.
Yeah.
That's beneficial.
Was Steve Spagnuolo throwing shade at Brett Veach and Andy Reid?
1,000%.
Next on Undisputed. Just kidding. That was way too coherent for Undisputed.
I do think signing Darius Harris is a good move.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because he does know the system. I think that's good. The one thing that I always look at when it comes to Tyreek Hill is unless you've seen Tyreek Hill, you don't know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Jason Kelce on the podcast when the Eagles played the Dolphins. He was like, you just forget how fast that guy is. And then Travis Kelce has the biggest smile on his face, like, bro, I saw it for 7 straight years.
Had a front row seat.
He's different. And that's what I do wonder in this game. I think he's going to get a big play no matter. And he's good for a big play every single game, it seems like. Even if they're getting beat like they did against the Eagles or against Buffalo. I honestly, it's one of those things where don't let him go off for 200, but try to slow down Waddle, try to slow down the run game, try to slow down, the other guys, because he's eventually going to get his. I do like the signing of Harris if a couple of guys can't go. So I do think that's interesting. But Spags had some good stuff to say, really did.
I think Spags always does.
Yeah.
I think
he actually gives you info.
I think he is the best weekly interview you get with the Chiefs.
Yep.
And that's not to slight anyone. But
Here's Matt Nagy. What did he have to say?
Is there a consideration that you've got a great running back of just doing more running to get that going?
There's probably a balance with it. We want to be able to be complementary football within the offense. So throwing the football, running the football. As we all know, when you can run it, depending on the type of runs you can get in that game based off a scheme, it's always a lot easier, whether you're calling plays or whether you're running the plays as players, to make those plays work. So we understand that. It is important. You do need to do that. You can't be one-dimensional. But every game is a little bit different based off the score, based off of what's working. And, I think Coach does a really good job with all that.
The mistakes have kind of come out in one way or another. Just how fixable do you feel right now? Is the offense midway through?
It's very fixable. There's not panic, but there's it's there for us to understand that a few things. When you look back 2 weeks ago, we put a pretty good game together. The players played well. They executed. We played complementary football with the defense and special teams. Then this past weekend against Denver, you know, in any football game, you can't turn the football over. And we did that. We did it 3 times in the first half. We were, you know, not very good in the red zone. When we got down there and didn't turn the ball over, then we didn't score, whether it's a turnover or a field goal or, you know, not getting a touchdown. We're, I think, one for 8 in 2 games against that defense. And so you got to give them credit. But at the same point in time, we know we can be better. So going back to the drawing board, seeing where we went wrong, not placing blame, but also accepting that we got to be better. And we know we can. And you get a great opportunity here for us to show what we can do in all 3 phases this weekend.
Coach, if you've known, obviously you can't, right? If you know Patrick Mahomes is going to have the flu, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you tweak the game plan, right? Like, as part of what got you is that, you know, I don't know, was he 90%? Was he 20%? You know, who knows? But would you have done it differently if you'd have known?
No, not at all, really. I mean, we wouldn't. I mean, it would have to be like really, really sick, you know, something to where you have no energy at all. And Patrick wouldn't want that either. He's an ultimate competitor. Not one time did that ever come out of his mouth of anything about being sick with him, as far as using it, that, you know, we weren't as successful on offense. So that's not who he is. There's always checks and balances with how sick somebody is and what kind of sickness, but that didn't come into the equation this time.
There's checks and balances. If he is vomiting every time he takes a step, we may have to sub him out for a play.
See, I disagree with that. Sometimes you got to protect the guy from him. If he's not the same, I don't know. Crazy idea. Don't throw it 50 times.
I mean, you know my stance. Guy had eight carries.
Like,
you know how I feel.
Like, I'm forget about how good the running game was. Like, oh, our big gun isn't feeling well. I got an idea. How about we try to lighten the load on the big gun?
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of saying, "Hey, big gun, we know you feel like do. How about you know, we'll help you out a little bit." Like, I don't care that he is Patrick Mahomes. Like, it clearly showed. You're trying to tell me that was 100% Patrick Mahomes? No.
You could just tell even in his sideline demeanor, he was not the same
Exactly.
guy.
Yeah, let's put everything on him instead. And then you add to the point, Brennan, where you are running it for 5 yards a pop with, fun fact, a guy named Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah.
Call him Pac. Anyways. Yeah. That was Matt Nagy.
That was Matt Nagy. We've got a comment in from Tyler on YouTube. Tyler says, Nagy is the worst. My only pushback on that is that I don't really know what Matt Nagy does. Like, in terms of actual game planning, is there any amount of Andy Reid that's like, all right, Nags, what do you think about this? Or is it mostly, Matt, go get me lunch? Like,
well, we were always told it was collaborative between Reid and Eric Bieniemy, but it's always been clear who has the final say, no matter who the offensive coordinator has been, whether it was Doug Peterson, whether it was Bieniemy, Nagy.
Matt Nagy the first time.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. The checks and balances when it comes to this are Andy Reid has the first word and the last word in that room. So I am loath to believe that there is a great deal of the struggles, such as they are, that the Chiefs have had offensively, that are directly attributable to Matt Nagy. But Matt Nagy was a really bad head coach. And that image is going to stick with him, I think, for a pretty long time. And I think that colors the evaluation of anything he's involved with.
I don't think he was a terrible head coach.
I mean, he did get Mitch Trubisky to the playoffs.
Like, now, I'm not going to say he's the greatest thing. But one, he did have a really good first year. Got Mitch Trubisky. A lot of that was schedule related, though, to be honest with you.
Oh, having the best defense in the NFL also helped.
But I'm not going to say that he was Josh McDaniels or, terrible, because the team that he had the 2 years after. Now, did he make dumb decisions? Yes, he did. He made some bad decisions. Okay. But what he had to deal with was oofta. That wasn't great. I don't think he'll ever get another head coaching job.
No,
But
he won't.
He's not Josh McDaniels or,
Ray Rhodes.
Terrible coach. But I've always wondered what does the OC do in Andy Reid's offense? I mean, I really don't know.
They're a hall monitor. I bet he even has his own little sash. I think it's orange or neon green.
It's like finishing school for future head coaches.
The Chiefs red. Chiefs red.
That's not really you can't really shine a light on something red and have it reflect, though.
I feel like you're getting way too in deep on it.
Did you have hall monitors at school? Like, I feel like that's always a joke. Like, oh
We
man,
never did.
hall monitors, nerds. We didn't. We had security, but we didn't have hall monitors.
No, we didn't have students who were hall
No,
monitors.
we didn't. Because if another student told me what to do, I'm like, no.
Shove them in a locker.
Our lockers weren't big enough to do that.
Did you have the mini half ones?
Yeah.
We had full ones. That always surprises me. We'll go to do basketball games at Shawnee Heights.
Lions
And I'm like,
Township High got plenty of money, apparently.
I mean, I can't really argue that. Yeah, I mean,
Listen, I'm glad I'm ducking this teasing over here. I'm just going to sit here having attended a high school that everybody in town called the Mall because that's what it looked like at night.
Oh, gosh.
Did your high school have air conditioning?
Until my junior year of high school, no.
See, the school I went to still does not. It does not have air. Well, the half of it doesn't. The building for juniors and seniors doesn't. There were two different buildings, though.
Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. Except the radio station. That had air conditioning. That's why I spent all my time there.
Coming up next, we got a little either or, over, under, and then we'll talk with Rick Peterson. edition of Either or Over Under here on 580 Sports Talk. We're going to talk all things high school football with Rick Peterson coming up on our Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around. Alrighty. Over under 6.5 point line for KU and K-State.
In Lawrence, under. I'd put it right now 4.
K-State minus 4.
3.5. K-State minus 3.5.
I'd make K-State about a touchdown favorite on a neutral field. So yeah, given 3 points to the home team, yeah, I'd say 4.5. 4 is about right.
Okay,
it's about where it'll sit.
Where are you putting it?
I'll put it at 5.
5.
Yeah. Also depends if Daniels is playing.
Well, yeah. I'm curious there. I feel like it would be better for KU in that matchup to have Daniels play against Texas Tech or even a little bit against Iowa State. I mean, we saw what he was like last year coming fresh off the injury. Now, granted, what he's dealing with now is not the same as your throwing shoulder is torn up like ground beef. So might not be exactly the same. But, I mean, we saw JD when he came back last year. He really wasn't right until the second half of the Arkansas game. So something to at least consider. Over under 20 seconds. You're in a steel cage with Brock Lesnar. How long are you lasting? He's not toying with you. He wants to kill you.
Oh, under 20 seconds.
I think
no.
Probably it will take me about 10 to 15 seconds to get up, get a good foothold on the chain link, and vault myself up to the top of the cage and exit the cage.
No, he's gonna grab you before you do that.
Well, then I'll last even less time.
Yeah, like no. Here's the only hope. You bite him, and like he doesn't.
No, his limbs are too big. I don't think you could bite him. My mouth's not. I'm decent size.
Well, you just get whatever you can. That's the only hope. You can't run around because they'll catch you.
I could give myself, I think, about 10. I think I'd surprise him with my shiftiness for about 10 seconds.
Like
he'd laugh. He would do that like sick laugh he does, and then he'd kill me. He'd actually murder me.
Like the only chance you have is to like juke him, and then when he does juke you, then you got to bite him.
From the YouTube comments, Vance says 2.7 seconds. Mark says 1.5 seconds.
Like, you ever see that one clip for the boxing match where they ring the bell and the guy in the one corner just steps out of the ring?
Oh yeah. He was upset at like
the back.
The distribution of money for the fight.
Walks out.
Like I'm not. Yeah, that would be me. Like, is there a door that I can access? I don't want no parts of this.
Yeah, where's the door?
All right, either or. Thursday night football tonight. The Titans and the Steelers. You have to right now commit to the next 5 years of this quarterback as your starter for your NFL team. Kenny Pickett or Will Levis?
Point of clarification. Is it just the quarterback, or am I committing to anything else as well? I got to know if I'm including Matt Canada here.
You're committing to the quarterback.
Okay, I'm taking Kenny Pickett. I still believe
there's your boy. That's your boy.
I like Kenny Pickett. I like Kenny Pickett a lot. I have. Now, if you said you get the Steelers with Kenny Pickett or the Titans with Will Levis, who are you picking? I'm taking the Titans because the Titans do not have Matt Canada.
Okay.
They don't have a good offensive coordinator. Todd Downing's not good at his job, but he's not Matt Canada. But I like Pickett. And I think tonight is going to be tough for Will Levis. I don't love that matchup for him against a Steelers defense that is getting healthier with Cam Hayward back against a rookie quarterback on a
They're
short
going to have
week.
Minka tonight?
Great question. I don't know if Minka's playing.
He went down last week. They ruled him out of that game right away. I can't say I've been following the participation reports for this one very closely.
It does look like he's going to miss time.
That could be a problem for that secondary. Yeah. That might open something up deep.
Yeah, he's already been ruled out. He was ruled out yesterday, in fact.
It might open up something deep for Levis tonight. But no, I think I'd probably lean Pickett too, although it's easy to be seduced by an arm like Will Levis's. It's a cannon.
I don't think he was worth the first round hype that he got, but I will say, like, I can see it. I don't buy it, but I can see it.
Oh yeah,
I can see the vision.
I watched enough college football.
Yeah,
so like I saw enough of him at Kentucky to know like there's some there's some real arm talent here, like big boy arm talent, but there are also some questions. Like when people started saying he was going to go number 4 in the draft, that never made a lick of sense. But
the guy who completely shifted all the betting lines by saying, I know personally he will go first.
yeah, I remember that.
Odds cratered.
What a day.
I'm taking Kenny Pickett, by the way.
Good.
Not a Will Jeans guy?
No.
Matt Canada really is just
No.
like a football war criminal and such a waste of a great spoonerism.
Yeah, it really is.
Cat Manada.
They're moving him to the sideline tonight.
Oh,
yeah.
that'll help.
Yeah.
That'll fix everything.
The way it was phrased, was this Rappaport who said it? I think he just said, oh, interesting. Yeah, it was Mike Garafolo. Says the tweak in the play calling process for the Steelers. Matt Canada will be on the sideline. He usually calls games from upstairs.
Fixed.
He will now be in close proximity to Mike Tomlin and the players as he calls plays. Yeah, that's how sidelines work. That's where the players are.
Not going to work. Coming up next, we're going to talk with Rick Peterson on all things high school football.
Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline is the one and only Rick Peterson, who covers all of our local teams, all things prep sports for topsports.news. Head to the website for all of Pistol and his crew's great coverage. You can find him on Twitter as well. His handle there is @Peterson_Rick. Pistol, how are you?
Loving seeing some little warmer weather, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, feeling a little bit nicer today. Love that.
Yeah.
We will get to all the football, and there is a lot of it to get to coming up here in just a moment. But first, wanted to start with a state champion. We talked about them on our show a little bit earlier this week. How about the Seaman Vikings, Pistol? First ever state championship in volleyball for the Lady Vikes and head coach Tatiana Dowling. And they just rolled over their competition last weekend in Salina. I mean, how impressive was that performance by the Vikes to come away with state?
Well, you said you used the word roll, and that's exactly what they did. They got on a roll. They had 5 straight set victories and beat the defending champs and perennial powerhouse St. Thomas Aquinas to get it done. And again, another straight set victory. Never trailed in the first set against Aquinas. Got down a couple times in the second set, but ended it on a flourish, and it was a great win for them. And they got to go into next year with high hopes as well. They've been to state 4 straight times, and they only lose 2 seniors off this year's team.
I was going to say, how impressive is that to do it with just 2 seniors and a very big and very talented junior class? I mean, the league offensive player of the year, Megan Mills, just a junior for that team. She'll be back for another year. But that was maybe the most impressive thing to me is they did this. It wasn't like, it was all 18-year-old players, Pistol. I mean, this core is going to be together for at least another full season.
Yeah, and Tatiana Dowling used to be Schaefer. She's a Seaman graduate, a former Seaman star there, and I think that gives her a lot of pride to be able to continue their fine tradition and add to it.
We're chatting with Rick Peterson from TopSports.News. It's the Lewis Toyota High School whip around here on 580 Sports Talk. Go find Pistol on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. And, of course, go check out all of his great work at TopSports.News. All right, Pistol, let's get to the gridiron. Lots of football to get to. What impressed you the most? What performance impressed you the most, I should say, from Week 9, the first round of the playoffs?
That's a good question. I think that just the way that the county teams, were able to get through. I know they had some favorable matchups, but, even then, you still got to go out and do it. And 7 of the 10 advanced, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. Care Paravel is the school. To answer your question, Care Paravel is the school that continues to impress me because this is their second year in Keisha, football-wise, and they didn't make the playoffs last year, and now they're just rolling. And I think that speaks very highly of them, and the fact that they're obviously not shying away from challenge because they're going to go to 11-man next year.
Well, why don't we start right there as we look ahead to this week's matchups, Pistol. Coming up tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, the Burden Central Care Paravel game. So the Lions got to go on the road for that one. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I know that Burden Central, good team. They're 9-0 on the year, no doubt about that. I do not know a whole lot about who they play over the course of the year, their strength of schedule, anything like that. From what you know about this matchup, though, Pistol, what do you think about Care Paravel's chances tomorrow night?
Well, and I would say, this year's Central Burden team, I don't know much about either, but I will say that I know Cara Paravel played a tough schedule. I mean, their district was loaded, and, Linden's still undefeated, and they've played some really, really good teams. So I think that speaks highly for them. In other words, I don't think going on the road and playing an undefeated team is going to necessarily, they're not going to be in awe of that. I think they'll be ready to go.
Let's leap up to some of the bigger classes next, Pistol. We'll start with the game that is going on tonight at Hummer Sports Park. It's a game we'll have here on our airwaves, 580 WIBW. Dane Lucero will be on the call with yours truly in the booth as well. From 5A, a city versus city matchup. Shawnee Heights, after a dominant win over Kansas City Sumner, they will take on Highland Park. Let's start with the home team tonight. Highland Park, 7-2 on the year. They cruise past Kansas City Harmon, a really nice matchup for them in the first weekend of the postseason. This is a team now, Pistol, with a couple of wins to end the regular season into the playoffs that's got some positive momentum. And I mean, frankly, this is going to be one of the toughest teams they faced all year, right up there with Atchison. So they've got a big test. I have to imagine that momentum is playing into their favor, though.
Yeah, and they're at Hummer, they're at their home field, and they are. I mean, this back-to-back years they've had just great records. They're going to really have a tough test tonight. Shawnee Heights is playing very, very well, and I think the key for Highland Park, they put in another new quarterback last week, and he did very well. But I think their whole key for them is staying in the game through the halftime at least, and then going into the fourth quarter to give themselves a chance. If they let Shawnee Heights jump out 2 or 3 touchdowns, it's probably over.
As for Shawnee Heights and that performance they had last week, we were there for that game as well. 68-0, they took down Sumner, and they clearly had the athletic matchup advantage in that game, Pistol. But, man, they are playing their best football that I've seen from this program in I don't even know how long. They're running it well. They're throwing it well. Their defense is playing out of their mind. This is another huge opportunity for Shawnee Heights, and they've got a chance to get to quarterfinals for the first time, and I don't even know how long. What an opportunity tonight for Jason Swift's group.
Yeah, and I think they're looking at that as a great opportunity, and I think that they have everything. I mean, really, I like this Heights team. They got a very good quarterback. They got a very good running back. They got several very good receivers. They got several very good linemen. As you mentioned, they're very good on defense. So I think they got everything to give themselves definitely a really good chance tonight, and then even a chance going forward as it gets a lot tougher.
Also in Class 5A, DeSoto versus Seaman. I'm fascinated by this matchup, Pistol. This is the one UKC team that Seaman did not face this year. DeSoto's only loss came against Washburn Rural back in Week 2. Seaman, big win a couple of weeks ago to get to the 9 seed. They rolled over Kansas City, Washington last week. Seaman at their best, Pistol, I think can hang with pretty much everyone, even with the number 1 team on their side of the bracket. How do you see this matchup playing out?
Well, Coach Craig Sherrick of Washburn and I were talking yesterday, and what I told him, and I always truly believe this, but DeSoto's a favorite, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
But a high school team that can throw the ball as much and as well as Seaman does always has a chance to be in the game. They always are going to give themselves a chance if they come out chucking it. And again, we go back to what I said about Heights. Seaman has a very good quarterback. They've got several very good receivers, and that gives you a chance, I think.
It's going to be an incredible clash of styles, isn't it? DeSoto running that flex bone. They might throw the ball 5 or fewer times the entire game. Seaman might run the ball only 5 or 6 times on designed runs the entire game if that passing attack gets going. That's the kind of fun thing about the playoffs, right, Pistols, that we get these fun clashes of styles like this game.
Yeah, it is. And the whole key for Seaman in that game that tomorrow night is they can't let DeSoto just hold the ball. Seaman's going to need the ball. So, but yeah, no, that's the thing. And what I like about the playoffs a lot, and we're not quite to that point yet, but you see a lot of teams and a lot of styles you haven't. And I always like to see new teams that I haven't seen much. And as you go deeper in the playoffs, like next week, for example, Hayden could play Parsons or Prairie View, teams that we don't see much around this area.
We're chatting with Rick Peterson from TopSports.News. This is the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around on 580 Sports Talk. Pistol joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Go check out all of his work covering all of our local city and county teams and the high school football playoffs, along with every other sport in the high school realm over at TopSports.News. Let's hop up to 6A, Pistol. It'll be our Lewis Toyota Game of the Week tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at Washburn Rural. The undefeated Junior Blues taking on 6-3 Junction City. Junction City had a battle with Wichita Heights last week. Rural played 98 players in a win over Wichita North. I know you wrote about that over at the website. Washburn Rural already beat Junction once this year, scoring 4 touchdowns with only 1 on offense. What do you think the matchup is going to look like in round 2?
I think it's going to be a really good game. I really think it'll be a good game. I mean, I look for Randall Zimmerman. I have as much respect for him as a coach as anybody in the state. So, I'm sure they've been dissecting that first film, and they're probably going to throw in some wrinkles. On the other hand, I think Washburn Rural is just rolling. I mean, talking about what we talked about with Shawnee Heights and Seaman, Washburn Rural's got all the pieces. And just, I think the only thing that worries me a little bit about Washburn Rural, and not much because of the great coaching staff they haven't had a close game in like a month. So, you hope that they come out. I think they'll come out ready to play and probably get, punched in the mouth a couple of times, and then I'll be fine. But, most of their games here lately have been what I call run rules, but running clock games. So they got to handle that.
Yeah, ever since the start of the month of October, their last 5 games, their smallest margin of victory, Pistol, 33 points. That is going to be an interesting test for Washburn Rural coming up here tomorrow night. Let's hop down to Class 3A now, and the Hayden Wildcats, unsurprisingly, they didn't have a whole lot of trouble in their opener. They blew out Baldwin 49-0. They get Santa Fe Trail coming up tomorrow night. That game will be at Hayden. This is an interesting matchup because Santa Fe Trail, they're having a great year, 7-2, first year under Reagan Erickson as their head coach. I'm actually fascinated by this particular matchup.
Yeah, I am too. And, I grew up covering way back in my first newspaper job in 1980. I covered a lot of Santa Fe Trail football, and they were very good under Bob Von Stein. And they've had some off years, and now it looks like they're back. And I think they'll be excited about, to get this far and be fired up for that. I still give the edge to Hayden, but Hayden is physically beat up. So, they'll have to come out and take care of business early, which Bill Arnold's teams usually do.
What publication was that for back in 1980, Pistol?
That was a thing in Baldwin City, Kansas, called the Telenews, and we covered Baldwin and Wellsville and Eudora, and they were in the same league with Santa Fe Trail.
How about that? All right, let's get to our final county team, Silver Lake. They looked awesome in their Week 9 matchup. They blew past Minneapolis 58-7. They earned the right to now take on Sabetha. They are 8-1 on the season. They beat ACCHS last week 71-6. Sabetha pretty solidly, I think, the second best team in Class 2A behind Nemaha Central, which has just been a wagon all year long. What do you make of this matchup for Silver Lake? What are the odds that Logan Peagram's team can come away with the win?
I like the Eagles' chances to be right there in the hunt and give themselves a chance, particularly at home. I just think they're fired up. Let's go back to week 2. That was the only loss Silver Lake had, and that was to Hayden, which is undefeated. And then I saw the Eagles against Rossville, and I was very impressed with them there. Tanner Martin and Blake Redmond are as good at players as there is in that class, and they got some other very good players. So I think they can hang with them. They'll have to. They can't get behind. I think they'll have to. Stay in the game right away. But I like their chances to give Sabetha a heck of a game.
All right, Pistol, what's your schedule look like this weekend?
Let's see. I'm at Hummer tonight. And then, we didn't even talk about this. I'm going to be at state soccer the next 2 days with Washburn Rural, which is 18-1-0 on the year, and playing in the 6A semifinals tomorrow, and they're right there at Hummer.
We will be talking about that in full, as of always, of course. Coming up next week on the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around right here on 580 Sports Talk. Rick Peterson joins us at this time every week to talk all things prep sports. Go check out topsports.news for all of Pistol's great coverage, and make sure you are also following him on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. Pistol, enjoy the football tonight, the soccer tomorrow, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, look forward to it.
That's Rick Peterson from topsports.news. Awesome insight into all of our local teams in the prep sports scene, including high school playoff football. Again, coming up tonight, 7 o'clock kickoff, Dan Lucero and yours truly on the call as Shawnee Heights takes on Highland Park. And then our Lewis Toyota game of the week tomorrow, Washburn Rural versus Junction City, again at 7 o'clock. We've got to get to a break. We'll come on back with the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk after the news.
number 3, 580 Sports Talk, coming your way on this Thursday. Jake LeBon, Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero with you. Doesn't feel like a Thursday today. It feels like a Friday because we got some high school football action going on. Lewis Toyota Game of the Week. Highland Park taking on the Shawnee Heights T-Birds. Tonight, 7 o'clock, 6:30 pregame coverage. Tomorrow, we'll have Washburn Rural taking on Junction City. Same bat time, same bat channel. 6:30 pregame coverage at 7 o'clock with the kickoff coming from Bowen Glaze Stadium. We got a lot to get to coming up tomorrow. We'll preview KU and Iowa State. We'll preview K-State versus Texas. We got a lot to get to. We'll hear from Desmond Purnell. We'll hear from Matt Derrick. We got so much to get to, our picks, all of that good stuff. So a lot to get into for the next 2 days here on 580 Sports Talk. We're going to hear from Jason Bean. That is right. I like to call him JB, but Brendan tells me that nobody calls him JB.
Maybe someone does.
Do we know for sure they don't call him JB?
Yes.
We do know that for sure.
I have never heard that.
Okay.
And I have heard.
What do they call him then? What's his name? Because they call Jalen Daniels JD. You see where I get the
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I see. I think he's just Jason.
Just Jason? They call him JJ then?
All right, move on.
We'll hear from Jason Bean.
Why did I even entertain this?
Just trying to get some of the nicknames, going down for the Kansas.
I mean, I'm sure someone calls him something. I don't know what that is. I just know it's not JB.
No JB, just Jason Bean.
Yeah.
Do they call him the starting quarterback that beat Oklahoma?
That should, yeah. That would be a factual nickname.
That's actually pretty cool. That's going to be a trivia question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who was the last quarterback to beat Oklahoma for KU in like 80 years? Because they're not going to play for another 80 years.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Jason Bean. How fantastic.
That is pretty cool that they've got to sit with that forever.
Yeah, it is. So is it K-State beat Oklahoma the last time? Look at that. Sunflower State owns the Sooners.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's actually pretty fun. I enjoy that a great deal. Because Oklahoma all time.
Have they lost double-figure games to KU?
Oh, yeah. I'm certain of it.
Check Winsipedia.
Yeah, they're 80-28 against KU.
Hey, that's better than Oklahoma State is.
That's true.
That is.
KU is better against OU than Oklahoma State is.
Yep. Hey, by the way, I'm riding with the Pokes this weekend. They're plus 5.5.
Yeah, how does that usually work out?
At home. This is different.
How?
This is different.
It is not. Oklahoma's winning.
Well, then, okay. Do you think K-State's going to win?
I don't know. I haven't decided my pick there yet.
Okay. But you have to go with Texas if you're going that theory because they've won 6 in a row. They just find a way to win.
No, wrong. 6 in a row is not 91 of 110. I'm sorry. 117. They have tied 7 times. 91 and 19 is not the same as 6 straight.
Pokes.
That's fine. You are more than welcome to light your money on fire. I am not going to stop you from that. You are an adult. You can do whatever you like with your money. K-State all time is 10-13 against Texas. These are not even remotely the same.
They've lost 6 in a row, though.
So before that, K-State was 10-7.
Yeah, but they've been on a slide.
For Oklahoma State to overtake Oklahoma all time, they would need to win 73 consecutive games.
Hold on a second. Give me what's the record in the last 5? Are they 1-4? Oklahoma State 1-4?
It's either 2-3 or 1-4.
Ooh, 2-3?
Let's see. In the last 5?
Yeah.
There's so much red, the graph is taking forever to even load here. In the last 5, OU is 4-1.
4-1.
The only 3 wins Mike Gundy has ever gotten over OU were 2011, 2014, and 2021.
2021.
He's been the head coach there since 2005.
I will also like to point out that sometimes the sports gods like to work in mysterious ways. The last time that KU and Mizzou played in basketball, the team that got upset that they left because the other team wanted to still play them, KU won. Oklahoma State is angry at Oklahoma, and they have a right to be. And who knows when they're going to play again. And I'm telling you, the sports gods are going to shine down on the Pokes. They're going to win, and they're going to rush the field.
What is the longest win streak for Oklahoma State over Oklahoma?
3 games.
I'll say they've won how many?
They've won 19.
3 might be too high.
They might have got. I'll go. Since Brendan, I'll say 2.
2. You know when those 2 wins came?
72 and 73. No, absolutely not.
32 and 33.
I was going to say not in the 70s because that's when old Bud Wilkinson had that puppy rolling.
Yeah, that's it. Since then, Oklahoma State has won. Technically, they got credit for a win that Oklahoma had to forfeit. So Oklahoma State, by their own volition, their own doing, has won a grand total.
You ready for this? I wish Fulton were here right now.
11 games.
Because you want to know what I'd tell Fulton?
Something that's going to make me mad.
Yep.
They're due.
They're due, baby.
Never has taken a math class before.
They're due. The Pokes are due. At home, all of this, they're playing well. They got the best player on the field.
Sooners by 15.
We're going with the... you're going to give me 15 points?
Give me an alt line.
I'll take that. What are we wagering?
I'm not betting you. I'm betting the book.
Why can't you bet me? Then the juice doesn't exist.
The action
because on
is
the off
the juice.
On the off chance that I lose, I don't want to live with that. I'm going to be like Oklahoma losing to Kansas and Kansas State.
All right. Now, at least the truth comes out.
It's like
I can understand that.
One of the greatest interactions in internet history. Some rando MMA fan called Michael Bisping or called some MMA fighter. It was like, oh, he's soft. He's going to get his ass kicked. He sucks. And the fighter responded and said, why don't you come face me? Why don't you come tell me that to my face? And he goes, no, you'll kick my ass. Like, no, I'll be realistic about it. Like, it's possible.
Hey, self-aware guy.
I just don't think it's going to happen.
Those are the people who also upset me that they'll talk smack and then, be your best friend to your face.
That's true.
Those people suck.
By the way, over at FanDuel this week, 50% profit boost on the K-State Texas game. So if you're really feeling, Dan, K-State's going to win that one.
I am really feeling the K-State's
you can put a little extra sauce on it.
Was it 4.5?
4.5. It might even be down to 4.
At FanDuel, it is currently sitting at 4.5. Elsewhere, I can tell you, once I get my page to load here, I can tell you that the consensus elsewhere is also 4.5. Yeah. There are a number of places where you can get the number at 4, though.
You're gonna take Cat's money line.
I think so.
Was that plus like 160?
Let's take a look.
That's
the consensus across all books is somewhere in the neighborhood of plus 200.
Oh,
at FanDuel, plus 164. Yeah, plus 164.
Daniel, what you need to do?
What's that?
Alt spread K-State minus 2.5. Yeah, buddy. Because they're gonna win by.
And then call 1-800-GAMBLER.
No, man. If you're feeling it, let's really feel it.
Yeah, those alt spreads are great for parlays. You can buy like
now, man. If you're feeling the
7
Cats,
more points,
you're feeling it, man. You're feeling them.
All right. If you're curious, what do you think the juice is on the Cats minus 2.5?
Minus plus 300.
No, not close.
What is it?
Plus 176.
It just should be higher. This is Texas.
Vegas knows that there's a real chance here for K-State.
What are my Pokes minus 2.5? How about that?
Okay, let's go check that out. Let's go see what Oklahoma.
Dan is so mad right now.
Oklahoma State is a 5.5 point underdog at home. Money line plus 188.
Ooh.
So if you wanted to bet $100 on Oklahoma State, you could win 188 should they win. If you wanted to take them 2.5 minus 2.5 plus 215.
Yeah, that's what I might do.
More power to you.
Take home the money. Let's talk a little hoops last night. KU and K-State were in action. First, before we get to any of that, a little update on the Naquan Tomlin situation. John Rothstein, who is he's a basketball insider.
He's a lunatic. Let's just call it what it is. He's a nut.
Well, I'll make this more team friendly. Okay. This dude loves college basketball more than maybe anybody that I know. Like, he's a college basketball,
He is the king.
Huge lover of college basketball.
He is
okay?
the king of saying things online like, my wife told me if I didn't go on a date night with her tonight, she would divorce me. Unfortunately, she had no idea that Belmont was taking on Fairfield in non-conference action. I guess I'm single now. Like, that's the kind of stuff he says regularly.
He loves college basketball more
Yes.
than anybody that I know. Anyways.
He also texts head coaches just
every
like,
game.
hey, coach, have a great day.
Yeah. Or good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah. Well, Jerome Tang.
Can you imagine being Bill Self? You pull out your phone. You got John Rothstein wishing you good luck against North Carolina Central.
He has never opened that text thread.
Jerome Tang tells
Slightly
John
believed.
Rothstein that he's treating Kansas State's indefinite suspension of Naquan Tomlin like a season-ending injury. Tang on Tomlin, quote, if he comes back, it's an added bonus, end quote. That doesn't sound like he's going to be playing.
Nope. That doesn't sound great.
No.
If he comes back, it's an added bonus. Season-ending injury. Maybe we'll get him back, but it doesn't look like it. So that's coming. That's some news for the Cats.
Yeah, and so you have to kind of calibrate your expectations for what this team can look like and maybe what they can accomplish without a guy who, frankly, has NBA upside.
Could get you 10-10.
Yeah, and not a lot of guys. There's not a lot of guys in this conference that have NBA upside. There's not a ton of guys on every given roster that have NBA upside, but Naquan Tomlin was one of those guys for Kansas State, and I was looking forward to seeing him play this year. I think a lot of people were, and seeing how much he's developed, if he's added anything to his game. But we may be waiting a good while, and the next time we see him on the floor, he may not be in purple. So we'll see. But I do think, though, that, when a door closes, the window opens. And I think from what little I got to see of Kansas State's scrimmage yesterday, exhibition game against Emporia State.
Do you need a moment? Do you need to take a time out here, Dan?
I don't know, man. I'm whatever the opposite.
I got a 30.
Whatever the opposite of rolling is, that's what I am. I think they're gonna be all right in the post. I think Jarrell Colbert showed me enough. I think he's a Big 12 caliber center.
He's thinned down. Like, he's not, like, he was a big dude last year. He's still, 6'10".
And I think he can play the 5, and I think David Gasson can play the 4. And I think that's a good front court. I do. I think you can get quality minutes out of that front court, because it sure feels like, and there was a lot of talk about him this year. I know he played some international play this summer, so he wasn't on the Israel trip, so he didn't get to play with his teammates on that trip. But I think there could be a breakout coming for David Gasson. And now he's going to have, it looks like, an expanded opportunity. I like his athleticism. I like his ability to get out and run. I think he's their most mobile big. And if he can be a little stronger and more formidable defensively, then I think he can be a really good player.
The guy who played very, very well and showed out how athletic he was Cam Carter yesterday. He was really good. He got out in transition. Tyler Perry didn't shoot it very well. Kaluma, he's going to be a good wing. But Colbert, Cam Carter, Gasson, if they play well, and I think he's going to play a little bit more. I don't know how much Taj Manning's going to play, to be honest with you.
Well, he started last night.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why.
Well, in fairness, it's probably because Jerome Tang has said he might be one day the winningest player that K-State's ever seen.
They really
love him.
Really like him. And he may be more glue guy than stats guy, and maybe a starter but not a closer for that team. But he's going to have opportunities for sure.
They just played a ton of dudes a lot of minutes in the game yesterday for K-State. But Colbert and Cam Carter, like, if that's Cam Carter you're going to get, and I know it's against Emporia State, that's a good situation to be in. It really is.
Can I offer a hot take about the K-State rotation? Kansas State is a better team with Naquan Tomlin because they're more talented if they have Naquan Tomlin. But not having him, I think, kind of solves the biggest issue they had with their main rotation, which is what exactly is he going to do? Like,
Like, is he your 5 or is he your 4?
Yeah, like what is his role going to be? How much are you putting on his shoulders to carry the offensive load? Is he going to be are you trying to make him a back to the basket big? Are you trying to have him be a driving wing? Are you trying to make him a small ball center? What are you doing with him? What kind of minutes is he going to play? How is he going to pair up with Gasson, with Colbert, especially with Kaluma? How does this affect where you're playing Kaluma, the 3 or the 4? You want that talent out there, and I don't disagree with that at all, but the issue kind of took care of itself here, basketball-wise. That's the issue I'm talking about.
Correct.
Kind of took care of itself, which at least early in the season, I think is beneficial. Now, later in the year, when you need to say, hey, we need to get as many scorers as we can, maybe it becomes a bigger issue there. But in terms of working the kinks out and getting in a rhythm and getting the rotation set from now, through New Year's, I actually think it may be kind of a silver lining benefit situation for K-State.
I want to get to this from the text line because I do think this is a fair question regarding Tomlin. It's from the 785 asking about, Kansas allowed Jalen Wilson to play after he got a DUI, which was that last year or was that 2 years ago?
That was 2 years ago.
Okay, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So they allowed him to play after that, but why wouldn't Naquan Tomlin get to play here? Because what is known publicly is that he was arrested for getting into a fight at Tubby's on Saturday night / early Sunday morning, I believe it was. And the only response I can offer, and this may not be satisfying to you, but it's the best we can do for now because we don't know a lot. But what we have heard, the speculation is you should assume probably at this point that there is more to
we don't know the details.
The Tomlin situation.
Don't know the details.
And you should assume it is not good. And I guess that's the best way I can put it. Like, you should assume that there is something to this that is not good. And that is why they would assume they might not have him.
Yeah, that's why Rothstein says, we're just going to assume he's not going to be here. And if he comes back, great. That means the details in the arrest do not favor Naquan Tomlin.
They don't.
That's all that we know.
Don't flatter him.
For the Wilson comparison, for whatever that's worth, it's a matter of being more cut and dry. Like, he got pulled over for a DUI. He got a 4-game suspension for it. He had to go through the court process, all of that. Like, that was a more direct situation, I think. Well, I know. So I think that's why. And Fitz told us that too yesterday. He said, hey, look, there's a lot out there. We can't source it, but you just know that it's a serious deal.
The stuff that has been floating around indicates that this is more serious. And that's not to downplay DUI, which is, it's not a mistake that anybody should be making. It's a bad mistake. And Jalen Wilson deserved the punishment that he got, certainly. Yes. But there are some things that are being combed through with regards to the Naquan Tomlin situation. And again, anything we would say beyond just saying that would be speculation, but I think it's probably fair at this point to assume that the details are not flattering and would be something that could potentially lead to some serious repercussions, which would include missing the season.
One final thought on K-State. We'll get to KU here momentarily. I love that they're playing a real game for the first game of the season. Because USC, I don't think they're a national title contender. And without Bronny James, in all likelihood, after he went through his cardiac event this summer, don't know if or when he's going to be able to play this year. But USC's got a lot of talent.
Yeah,
a lot.
Isaiah Collier might be the best freshman in the country. In fact, The Athletic did a survey, and the survey said he would be the best player in the country. CJ Moore, friend of the program, has a great profile up about Collier and his game. So you're going to get a chance to see him. They got Boogie Ellis, one of the best point guards in the country. Like, that's a real good team. And there's a non-zero chance they run K-State off the floor because they're a little bit more they got a bit more veteran presence than maybe K-State does at this point, a little bit more cohesion maybe than K-State might. Like, there's a chance, but there's also a chance K-State runs them off the floor. Like, anything could happen in this opening game, and I think that's a lot more exciting for game one than the alternative of, playing a Northern Colorado or a Florida A&M or the myriad other schools that K-State has opened with to varying degrees of success in the last decade.
Do you remember who it was last year?
No. It was a SWAC school, right?
No.
Or MEAC?
No.
It was not an HBCU.
They did not play an HBCU last year, in fact.
No?
They did not last year.
I could have sworn they played Florida A&M.
That was 2 years ago, I believe.
Okay.
When they played that awful game. Yeah, that was a Weber team They played that awful game where they only won by like 4 and there were 900 turnovers.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was bad. I described a lot of games at the end of the Weber era. No, UT Rio Grande Valley.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
Utter give.
Like
UTRGV.
Yeah, UTRGV, an awful Cal team. At least that's a power conference, though. UMKC, a bad Rhode Island team. That was in a tournament. Butler was not especially good last year. Abilene Christian, and you've still got some of those teams that are on the schedule this year. But you've also got USC, which is a real opponent that I think is going to be in the top 25 off and on over the course of the year. Bellarmine has been one of the best, or Bellarmine has been one of the best small schools in the country the last couple of years, although a little bit down last season. Providence, that's a good team with a new coach, but that's a good team. They're going to get either Georgia or Miami also when they go to the Bahamas. Oral Roberts is going to look a lot different without Max Asmus, but that's still been and no Paul Mills either, but that's been a good team. They've still got good talent around. They play Villanova. They play LSU again. Like, this is a real schedule for K-State. I'm glad to see that. And if you're a K-State fan, you should be glad to see that too.
Yeah.
As for KU, there's not a whole lot to take away from this game. It got so ugly at the end of the game. Hayes made a bunch of shots. They weren't really being guarded. KU was phoning it in from the very beginning. There was a stretch before the first media timeout of the first half and before the first media timeout of the second half. KU did whatever it wanted, and it cruised in those segments, and it ended up looking just fine. Shockingly, a team whose biggest player is like 6'6" doesn't know how to match up with 7'1" Hunter Dickinson. Like, there's
I couldn't do much with him.
Yeah, something of a mismatch. Dump it inside, he lays it in. 17 and 11 for the game.
The most encouraging thing, obviously, was Kevin McCullough made 4 3-pointers. Like, there are some legitimate and very serious, I think, at this stage, concerns about how well Kansas is going to shoot the 3 this year.
Major concerns.
If Kevin McCullough can make, I mean, he doesn't have to make 4 every game, but if he could make 2 or 3 every game, even if he's shooting 7, 8, 9 of them, somebody's going to have to shoot them, right? And I think eventually Nick Timberlake's going to make some. And DeJuan Harris has shown you can't entirely ignore him from back there. But McCullough, it would just make him so much better. And make him so much more of a threat offensively if you felt like you have to guard him 23 feet and in.
So that's great, and you need Timberlake to shoot better. Elmarco Jackson, you hope he can shoot a little bit better over time. But, I mean, overall, there's not a whole lot you can take out of this game other than the fact that KU can't shoot the 3 well. But they're awesome in the paint. 18 of 25 on 2-pointers in the game. The other thing to note, like just an example of why this game is a total whatever, DeJuan Harris had 4 turnovers in the game. You know how many times in his career DeJuan Harris has had 4 turnovers? He's never had more in a game.
Yeah, I don't think he's done that more than a handful of times.
8 times. He's played 106 games in his career. Like, that just doesn't happen. No. And that's what that game was last night. So not a lot you can take away from KU. They are who we thought they were going into this part of the season. We have to get to a break. Coming up next, we'll get to What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. with your time on 580 Sports Talk. Brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. They cut the metal you need to your specifications. That saves you time, money, and material. So never settle when it comes to metal with Top City Metal Supply, located on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field, right here in the capital city. Our winner from yesterday, our first day of the month, Booty Patrol. The
guy running around pulling people over with Booty Patrol on his truck.
Hey, he told you exactly what he was looking for.
Yeah, fake flashing lights and the Booty Patrol lettering on the bed of his truck. Yeah,
knew exactly what he was looking for.
Yeah,
it's getting cold out everywhere. It's yoga pants season. He knew what he was looking for.
On the lookout for booty, patrolling, keeping our neighborhood safe from booty, I guess.
Oh, yoga pants coming out the nail salon. All right, 2 new stories going head to head today. Dan, you're up first.
All right, we're going to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Been a lot of Nebraska recently.
We really have. What's going on up there, guys? I know some people. You can hear us. Our signal carries up that far north. What's going on? What's the story? Why you get a little loose up there in Nebraska? We go to Lincoln, where a woman is accused of leading police on a high-speed chase Tuesday after stealing a costume from Walmart. And I need to apologize. This is not a Lincoln story. This is a Grand Island, Nebraska story.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Grand Island, Nebraska? Have you ever been?
Driven past.
Yeah,
I've driven past an exit on I-80.
It's a little further. You gotta go a little further north off of I-80 to get to Grand Island. They call it Grand Island because there's a river to the north of it and a river to the south of it. So, in a matter of speaking, it's an island. And a grand one.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yes. State volleyball was there. Might still be, for all I know, but it was back when back in my days covering high school sports in the Cornhusker State.
This website even has an ad for a Runza.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so it's Nebraska.
It's Nebraska, baby. That's right. We meet Sapphire Utley. Incredible name. Caught shoplifting at the South Walmart in Grand Island on Halloween. Authorities said she sped off in a white Dodge Avenger just before 1:15 p.m. and nearly caused a crash. The Grand Island Police Department found Utley at a hotel and arrested her. She's charged with shoplifting, operating a motor vehicle to avoid arrest, and driving with a suspended license. Police are also looking for another woman, Jordana Nelson, who they also think stole items from the Walmart.
You gotta beef up the greeters at this Walmart.
Yeah, in and out, stealing a costume. Like, you are definitely not a Halloween person.
No.
I get it, but I'm not a dress up for Halloween kind of person, generally speaking.
Yeah.
But we acknowledge that some people go hard on their Halloween costumes. And if that is your thing, then I sincerely hope that you enjoy the act of putting your costume together. But what part of the game is this? Just stealing it from a Walmart?
Don't need to do that.
Which one do you think it was? Do you think she grabbed I don't know, Sexy Devil, Sexy Angel? I'm going through all the choices for women. Sexy Cat.
Yeah. Those are the staples.
Yeah, pretty much.
Those are the staples.
Sexy Disney Princess.
Yeah.
Sexy Minion.
Sexy Minion. There's someone who lives in my complex who has naked minions on the bed of their truck. Like stickers of butt naked minions.
So they're just not wearing their little overalls?
Yeah, cheeks out and everything. Double cheeked up. It is Thursday afternoon after all.
What are those minions doing with so much ass? Call the Booty Patrol.
Yeah, we need them for the minions on the truck in my parking lot. Egregious. My story today, we're going to Miami, where the police found a man passed out, drunk in his car. That's strike one. He had a gun on his lap. That's strike two. And oh, by the way, he happened to be another police officer. That is strike three, and you are out. We meet Jovanaya I got to make sure I pronounce this right. Sauvager, an officer with the Miami Police Department who is passed out behind the wheel of his Infiniti, according to an arrest report released on Wednesday. The school officer who found him banged on Sauvager's window to try to get his attention after loud music was heard coming from his parked car. Sauvager, a 31-year-old, had a gun on his lap, strong odor of alcohol, bloodshot eyes, droopy eyelids, and slurred speech when police officers found him at the intersection of 6th and 62nd Streets. After refusing to perform a field sobriety test, police told Sauvager he asked to be transported to the hospital because he wasn't feeling well. When an officer asked him to put his car in park, He instead put it in reverse, which moved the car 2 feet back. Sauvager, who dozed in and out of consciousness, refused sobriety tests again and requested medical attention. Miami Police Chief Manuel Morales shared his thoughts with a local news station saying, quote, "We are not above the law, and the Miami Police Department will hold all of its members from me on down to the most rookie officer to the highest standards."
Yeah, he's been an officer since 2017. That's long enough to know the law, I feel like. I don't even think you need to be a police officer to know you can't do this stuff.
This news station, Local 10 TV, sent a reporter to Sauvager's house where he was met by a woman, undescribed who this woman is, and she said, "Get away from our house, just go," after they asked to speak with him. So, not interested in talking to the media about this, apparently.
I bet not.
All right, who you got for today?
There's a little more to this story than woman stealing a costume from Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man, there's beauty in simplicity sometimes. It was Halloween. She was short a costume. She just grabbed one and took off.
I feel like if you can make a costume at home, like if you don't have the money to go buy one, you can make one with stuff you have at home.
Yes.
That is
100%.
very easy
Just
to do.
Be a ghost.
Yeah. Throw the sheet over your head.
A sheet and a pair of scissors. Boom. Ghost.
Yeah. Do something like, I wore my work clothes. My costume is I work in an office. Okay, great. Like you've solved it. Good job.
Sexy nerd. That's another one.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, put some big glasses on. Biggest pair you have. Throw them on.
Sexy professor.
Yeah, that's all you need to do. I don't know, man. This is a cop who fell asleep with a gun on his lap.
Yeah. Drunk.
Yeah.
In his
By
car.
a school.
By a school.
I'm going to go with that one for today.
Yeah.
I don't think that stops the booty patrol.
No. Either way, I don't think we're beating the booty patrol with either of these.
Not beating the booty patrol. That is our winner for today, the Booty Patrol in What Is Wrong With You. Brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. That's metal cut to order when you need it. Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard. Coming up on the other side of this break, we will hear from KU quarterback Jason Bean. He'll join us on 580 Sports Talk. Back to 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski here with you this afternoon. Coming up this weekend, the Kansas Jayhawks will be back in action, hitting the road to take on Iowa State. The always vaunted Jack Trice Stadium at night. Should be a fun one and a tough one for the Jayhawks coming up this week. And to preview this game, to talk about the win this past weekend over Oklahoma, we welcome in Kansas Jayhawks starting quarterback Jason Bean to the show. Jason, thank you for taking the time for us. First question I've got, you have been one of the biggest stories in college football, your team and yourself as an individual. I know you were interviewed on ESPN earlier this week. That comeback drive at the end of the game against Oklahoma has been all over everywhere in the college football world the last few days. What has this stretch from Saturday's game until now been like for you?
Yeah, it's definitely been different than the other weeks. Just coming off such a big win like that, it's been a fun ride, and I'm excited for this team. Just to have all this excitement around the program, and I definitely think this program is headed in the right direction, and we're continuing to work it each and every day, and I'm proud of where we've come from, and I'm proud to see where we're going to go.
The end of that game against Oklahoma is going to live for KU fans, maybe forever. And to go from a couple of things that didn't go your guys' way and the 2 turnovers and Oklahoma takes the lead, to then have that one last chance and to put together the multiple 4th down conversions, the big pass to Lawrence Arnold. Obviously, you were great with your legs throughout the entire game. What was going through your mind in that moment? Was there any amount of pressing on yourself, or was it as cool, calm, and collected as could be?
Yeah, I think I think in the past in those situations, I've kind of, folded under pressure. And that was one of the things that I tried to focus on in those 2 weeks that we had to prepare for that game. And, the opportunity presented itself and I knew what I had to do. And, I think everybody in the offense knew we had to do it, and we went in there and executed.
For you to tell your coaches and to tell Lance Leipold after the game that, hey, can I talk to the team? Can I address these guys? And we've gotten to see that video and hear from you. It's been posted on social media and everything. And Coach Leipold mentioned it during his post-game press conference Saturday as well, how much that meant to the team. Why did you want to address the guys? Why was it important for you to get a chance to talk directly to the whole roster after that game?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just I have so much love for this team and, everybody on this team. And, I think that they know where I've come from and how far I've grown and how much I've, spent time around them and tried to make this team better. And, I just wanted them to know how thankful and blessed I am to be a part of them and, just to be able to go to practice with them each and every day and just to be around them. It's a huge honor for me. And, this season and my time at KU will be something that, I'll cherish for the rest of my life and, forever be thankful for.
We're chatting with Jason Bean, quarterback for the Kansas Jayhawks here on 580 Sports Talk. KU will take on Iowa State coming up this weekend after the big win over Oklahoma this past Saturday. One more thought about this Oklahoma game, Jason, and a little bit bigger picture, but this is now 2 years in a row that, with the in and outs and with Jalen's injury and you stepping into the starting role 2 seasons in a row for a large portion of the season, you have started at quarterback back-to-back years in the game in which KU has clinched bowl eligibility. And all that considered, it's just the second time in program history that KU has been bowl eligible in back-to-back years. To get to be a huge part of history like that, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it means everything. Just like I said a little bit ago, these 2 games that you just talked about are games that I'll never forget about. And, just how tough it was to get to that point and to be able to get bowl eligible back-to-back years is, it's not something that, a lot of programs can say that they've done. And, I'm proud to say that I've, helped in that and, helped that I was part of something so great like that and at a prestigious school like this. And, I'm just very thankful.
I did want to ask a little bit about Jalen because I know the two of you have a great relationship, and when everyone's healthy, I mean, your guys' offense is as good as anybody. And, you look at the numbers, the math, the advanced numbers with you've been in there the last couple of weeks. I mean, the KU offense is good as anybody in the country right now. What has this year been like, and really the last 2 years with Jalen getting banged up, and there's a lot of, well, will he be back? Well, won't he be back? Does it change your preparation at all, knowing that maybe this is the week that things change, maybe the lineup changes this week? Or to you, is it very much a day-by-day, business is business kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's very much, just day by day, taking a day at a time and, not really trying to focus on that. I'm obviously always checking on Jalen just to make sure, that he's progressing with his injury. And, I'm always there for him, just because, we're tight like that, and we have that relationship to where we can, look out for each other. But, I think, for this team, it's we don't really try to focus on stuff that's out of our control. And, I think that's why we've been successful, and, just trying to focus on what we can control and, making sure that we do execute those things. I think it's been like the main focus for this team. And, I think we've done that really well.
How do you, Jason, feel like you have grown both as a person and as a player since you started your career at KU, transferring in from North Texas a couple of years ago? We all remember that first game of your era at KU, Coach Leipold's era at KU, that win over South Dakota to open up the 2021 season, playing a bunch of games, both as a reserve quarterback, as a starting quarterback the last couple of seasons. Where do you think is the area where you've grown the most during your time at Kansas?
I'd say my leadership role. Just trying to get out of my comfort zone is one thing that I've tried to focus on at my time here. I think I've done a pretty decent job, but I'm always continue to strive to be better in that position, and try to find new ways that I can be a better leader for these guys, and just try to find out new ways always to improve.
We're chatting with Jason Bean, starting quarterback for the Kansas Jayhawks here on 580 Sports Talk, following that huge win over Oklahoma a week ago. And ahead of this Saturday's matchup, 6 o'clock p.m. kickoff from Jack Trice Stadium in Ames against Iowa State. I wanted to ask you, Jason, a little bit about some of the guys who are around you, and starting with that offensive line, and whether it's been pass blocking, run blocking, that starting unit has been fantastic over the course of the season. They were great a week ago against Oklahoma. How important has it been to, A, have the same group out there and have so much continuity up front this year? And just what can you say about the way that veteran offensive line has played in front of you this season?
They played exceptionally well. I think this team will go as far as they go. I think they are the driving force of this program. And I think they've been the driving force of this program the past few years. And, they'll continue to make improvements and, find out ways that they can get better. And, I'm extremely thankful that I have those group of guys, and I'll forever hold a relationship with them just because of how much they've done for me and what they've done for this team, and it's a very special group.
In the backfield, the running back stable that you guys have, for my money, is as good as anybody in the Big 12, if not anybody in the country. We know how good Devin Neal is. He is moving his name up and up the KU record books every single week. Daniel Highshaw has been fantastic coming back from the injury last year. He had a big game against Oklahoma. What is it like playing with those guys? And throw Dylan McDuffie in there too, because he's had some good moments this season as well. What is it like playing with a stable of running backs that is that talented, and how much do they help you and make your job easier game by game?
Just like the offensive line, it's a special group. There's special talents, and they each do things really well, and I think they complement our offense very well, and they complement me very well too. Just based off how they run the ball and how they pass protect, and how the knowledge that they have of the game is. I think the biggest thing for those guys is they know exactly what they need to do, when they need to do it, and how it needs to get done. And I think they're like I said, a very special group, and I think them along with the offensive line, they'll take this program as far as we need to go.
All right, now I do need to ask you, Jason, because we know about your track background, and we know there's plenty of speed on this team. There's a lot of team speed for your Jayhawks. Are you the fastest player on the team?
Yes, sir. I am.
Do you guys ever race? Like, is that ever like a fall camp kind of thing, or like a, hey, let's just, let me flex the legs a little bit? Do you ever do that, or is it just kind of known like, yeah, no, that's Jason's job. He's the fast one.
Every once in a while in the summer, things get a little competitive in, strength and conditioning running drills. I think that's about the only time that we really try to, go out there and compete with each other. Just because there's so many guys on the team that, feel like they are faster than me or they can't keep up with me. And, there's always, it's always a good time for me to go out there and humble them, and keep their work ethic, up.
This matchup, Jason, against Iowa State coming up on Saturday night. That's an Iowa State team that's playing really good football right now. It's always been tough to play night games in Ames. What do you specifically, and what does this entire offense really need to be ready to do and ready to execute to come away with a win on Saturday night?
I think we just need to focus on what we can control. Focus on the plays that we're running, and not the environment of where we're at, or not the weather that we can't control. And I think just as long as we focus on what we have to do to win this game, and I think we'll be in great shape.
All right, two last questions I've got for you, Jason, both off the field here. Number one, because you've gotten to go to most of the Big 12 at this point. I've gotten to see a bunch in this conference. What is your favorite road trip to take? Which, city has the best fans? What's the best stadium environment? What's your favorite road trip to take in conference play?
Probably to Fort Worth and TCU, just because it's so close to home, and I always have, or I have, a lot of friends and family that are able to come to that game. So I think probably that one.
All right, last thing then. I ask all your teammates this, and we've gotten quite a wide array of answers for this over the course of the season. And I know everybody's got jokes about Kenny's music taste. He gave us some interesting ones last week. But when you are getting ready for a game, you're finishing up warm-ups, you guys are about to take the tunnel, take the field. What is the number one song you've got to hear to get you pumped up before a game?
That's a really good question. Probably I'm going to go with, the genre is country music, and I'm going to go with George Strait, Oceanfront Property.
Okay. Are you a big country music fan in general?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. See, that I believe that is our first country answer we've gotten from a KU player this year. So with that then, who, other than you, obviously, who's got the best music taste and who's got the worst music taste of your teammates?
The best music taste is probably me, and the worst is probably Trevor Wilson.
What does Trevor listen to?
He's from Florida, so they like a lot of upbeat tempo music, and half the time you can't really understand what they're saying, so it's a little tough for me, just to understand what's going on with the music.
Believe it or not, you are not the first person to mention Trevor Wilson when I've asked that question over the course of the season. So I think it's pretty unanimous at that point. Jason Bean is the starting quarterback for the Kansas Jayhawks. They will take on Iowa State coming up 6:00 Saturday night in Ames. Jason, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations on the big win against Oklahoma. We appreciate you taking the time for us, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That is Jason Bean, starting quarterback for the Kansas Jayhawks, at least until further notice, the starting quarterback for the Kansas Jayhawks. Kind enough to join us here on 580 Sports Talk today. Really enjoyed getting to talk to Jason. And yeah, I mean, he has been the story, along with Kansas just being one of the biggest stories in college football, that and the Michigan sign stealing scandal over the last week. We're going to get to more about that in headlines, by the way, coming up here in just a little bit. But the fact that he was interviewed on College Football Live on ESPN, and he's been talked about by Lance Leipold, all the national media stuff Leipold has done in the last week in the wake of that win. He's been through a lot in his time at KU, and for him to have that moment, it's really cool as someone who cares emotionally about this KU team. Really cool for him. And it sounds, at least for now, like he's going to get the starting job this weekend, taking on Iowa State as well. That is a 6:00 kick in Ames. I'm telling you guys, I am not thrilled about that matchup. I am nervous about it. Night game in Ames. We went through the numbers earlier in the week. We'll get you our official picks coming up on tomorrow's show. I would love to pick KU to win. I'm just nervous. Feels like a letdown spot, but we'll get to that coming up on tomorrow's show. Right now, we're going to take a break for the national and local news at the top of the hour. When we come back in the 5:00 hour, we've got a full slate of 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to. We will also get you a quick preview of Thursday Night Football, and we'll hear from the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. He will join us just before he goes jet-setting on his way to Germany for the game in Frankfurt for the Chiefs this weekend. All that and more is coming up in the final hour today on 580 Sports Talk. hour of 580 Sports Talk coming your way. I am Brendan Dworzinski. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon. For now, it's just me, but for the entire 580 Sports Talk crew for hanging out with us this afternoon. We've got still a full hour of 580 Sports Talk to get to, and then we've got plenty of high school football coming your way this weekend, including tonight, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff from Hummer Sports Park. City versus city playoff football. It will be the Highland Park Scots versus the Shawnee Heights Thunderbirds, 7-2 versus 7-2. Dan Lucero will be on the mic with the play-by-play tonight. I'll be helping him out with the color commentary. That is, again, coming up 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff tonight, right here on 580 WIBW. Tomorrow night, our Lewis Toyota High School football game of the week. It's a Centennial League showdown as Washburn Rural, undefeated 9-0 on the year, takes on 6-3 Junction City. That game will be played at Bowen Glaze Stadium. 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kick right here on 580 WIBW. Yours truly, Greg Akagi and Dan will be your broadcast crew for that one coming up tomorrow night. Here in this final hour of 580 Sports Talk for today, we've got our headlines here in just a moment. Plenty to get to, including the Chiefs injury report for today as they make their trip overseas. They are headed to Germany to take on the Miami Dolphins in Frankfurt, the first German game, a rare overseas, truly overseas game for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get to the injury report and a lot more in our headlines. We'll give you a quick preview of Thursday Night Football coming up in just a little bit. And we will hear from the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. He will join us coming up a little bit later on. We're still taking your texts, 785-272-9429. That is the text line number. And, of course, you can hop into the comment section on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is called 580 Sports Talk. You can find all of the video content we do over on YouTube at that channel. We've got last night, I was at the KU game covering KU versus Fort Hays State. Post-game recap video is up there. The live stream of 580 Sports Talk every single day is on our YouTube channel, along with our entire back catalog. We are now 1 year and 2 days into every single episode of the show being live video streamed as well. You can go back and check out all of them, or any of them maybe is what I should say, over on our channel on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. Super simple to go find. It's just the name of the show. That's where you can find us, and we appreciate you guys hanging out with us today and watching or listening, however you are watching or listening and wherever you may be for today. With that, without further ado, let's get to today's 580 Sports Talk headlines, and we will start with the Chiefs injury report for today. It is travel day for the Chiefs. They are headed to Frankfurt. Mostly a clean sheet for Kansas City. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not practice today and has already been listed as out for the game against the Dolphins due to an illness. In fact, as our Matt Derrick reported on Twitter a little bit ago, our friend Matt Derrick, he's not just ours. We'll talk to him tomorrow, though, for our Chiefs Insider. Clyde Edwards-Helaire not going to travel with the team. He is going to stay stateside as the Chiefs make their trip overseas to Frankfurt today. Additionally, other injuries that are notable, Willie Gay with a lower back issue and Jerick McKinnon with that sore groin that we heard about from Andy Reid yesterday. They are both coming off of limited days in practice today as they head overseas. Their game status not determined as of yet. Tommy Townsend, he was limited, but was on the field as well. He's got a bandage on his hand, according to Matt, but he is likely going to be okay. The folks overseas in Europe, when the NFL heads over there, they love kicking. They go nuts for field goals. They love a good punt. You can understand what's the most popular sport over there. Soccer, football, if you will. Makes sense they'd be into the kicking aspect of American gridiron football as well. Tommy Townsend will be out there. He'll be wowing those Bundesliga fans. And that is your Chiefs injury report for today. I have to double check here to see if anything new has popped up for Miami. So I'll pull that up for you real quick. This is what you want if you're the Chiefs, though. You want to be as healthy as possible for a game of this magnitude. And there's really no underselling it. This is a gigantic game for the Kansas City Chiefs and for the entire race in the AFC with how well the Dolphins have played over the course of the year. Your injury report for the Dolphins. There's a lot of names on here. 2 players did not participate in practice. That includes safety Brandon Jones, who's in the concussion protocol, as well as offensive lineman Robert Hunt. That is a big deal. Hunt dealing with a hamstring issue. He's one of the best linemen that Miami has. That is a big deal if he is not able to go. We also have, and by my count, 10 players listed as limited for the Dolphins in practice today. That includes Tackle Teron Armstead. That's a big deal. If Miami can get him back after he's missed a few weeks, that would be huge for the Dolphins. Wide receiver Braxton Berrios, not listed yesterday, limited today with a hamstring. Same scenario for Justin Bethel, number 3 cornerback for the Dolphins. He's got a foot issue. He was limited today after he was a full go yesterday. Limited with a shoulder, River Craycraft, wide receiver and special teams ace. Xavier Howard with a groin, limited participant in practice. Sounded early this week like maybe it wasn't trending well for him. We'll keep an eye on that one, the number 2 corner for the Dolphins. Running back Raheem Mostert did not participate in practice yesterday. He was limited today. That's a good sign for the Dolphins. Jalen Ramsey still returning from ACL surgery. Limited the last 2 days. He is likely going to play. Limited with an ankle, Durham Smythe, backup tight end for the Dolphins, as well as another offensive lineman, their center Connor Williams, with a groin issue, limited each of the last 2 days. A lot of names there for Miami. I don't know if that's a gamesmanship thing for Mike McDaniel. I don't know if all those guys are truly that banged up, but we will find out their game statuses coming up tomorrow when the 2 teams practice. Again, 8:30 kickoff for Chiefs and Dolphins from Frankfurt, 8:30 our time anyway on Sunday, a game you can catch right here on 580 WIBW. Moving on with today's 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. Let's get to a couple other pieces of news and notes from the NFL. We'll start with one of these is going to make me frustrated. So let's start with the other one. The Buffalo Bills adding a couple of veterans to their roster. Linval Joseph, defensive lineman. He is signed on with the Bills. And running back Leonard Fournette. Y'all remember playoff Lenny? I know Chiefs fans, you do. No one had ever called him that until Joe Buck did during that Super Bowl. But those 2 veterans, both joining the Buffalo Bills. I think both of these made sense. Linval Joseph has been a very solid player for a long time. I remember him most for his time in Minnesota, but he was just last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Very similar signing there. They added him midway through the season on a vet minimum contract, tacked him onto that already deep defensive line for the playoff run. So the Buffalo Bills trying to do the same thing as they add Linval Joseph to their roster today. Interesting one. The best running back that Buffalo has is James Cook. And I'm not just saying that because I know he's on my fantasy team and he has come through for my garbage team a couple of times so far this season. No, beyond that, he is their most talented and best pass-catching running back that they've got, best complete back that they have. But Buffalo needs a little bit more juice offensively from their playmaker spots. And I'm not saying that Leonard Fournette is no doubt that guy, because frankly, I don't think he is. I've never been a big Leonard Fournette fan. He was great at LSU. I don't think he's been a great NFL player, save for 3 games with the Buccaneers on their Super Bowl run against the Chiefs a couple of years ago. But they need to add at least a little bit of something. And if it's someone who can at least come in every few plays and just spell James Cook for a little bit, so be it. Fine enough. Makes sense for the Bills. I think those are both good moves. The other personnel note that I knew was going to make me mad, because he always makes me mad. Deshaun Watson said he is not sure what his status is for this weekend when the Browns take the field, and said he jumped the gun by playing this past week against the Indianapolis Colts, or 2 weeks ago now against the Indianapolis Colts, before he got re-injured. Also had to go through the concussion protocol. And now his status is, again, long-term up in the air. I don't like the guy, and I'm never going to change my opinion on that. You can have your own. That is totally fine. Based on the evidence we have, I am severely anti-Deshaun Watson. That's why we call him the nasty man. This is so dumb. I don't know why Cleveland quarterbacks, if this is to be believed, that Watson went against the recommendation of experts and decided that he was going to come back early. I don't know why this is a trend with Browns quarterbacks. That's essentially what spelled doom for Baker Mayfield when he was in Cleveland, because he came back while his shoulder was, sliced roast beef, and was just awful his last year with the Browns. And he ended up playing poorly, and then they kicked him out and brought in Deshaun Watson. Why are Browns quarterbacks addicted to doing this? Protect yourself first. Maybe Watson could have been back this week for the Browns. No, instead, he's still injured, not getting any better. It's just very dumb. But again, I don't really have anything nice to say about Deshaun Watson, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And you made this bet for yourself, Cleveland. Dude didn't play for 2 years. He quit on Houston before he got traded, before all the rumors and allegations came out against Deshaun Watson. He quit on that team already. You made this bet for yourself, and now you got a line at Cleveland Browns, and specifically you, Jimmy Haslam, their owner. Next up, let's flip from the NFL to college football on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. And the latest updates from the Michigan sign stealing scandal. Now, I will say this. If you are sick of this story, you're not alone. I am too. I admit I am too. I thought it was funny at first. I have also thought, okay, this is a lot worse than I thought. I have then thought, okay, this is probably not as bad as some people are making it out to be, but it has been played out. And while there is still more information, more data coming out, I'm kind of over it, to be completely honest with you. Like, this is not anything that gets my juices flowing anymore. When I, go online or I'm talking to friends or I'm watching TV or whatever, I'm beyond this being the number one story in college football. I get why it is. I'm just kind of over it. But now we've got Big 12 coaches and presidents and other people who will have administrative positions in the Big 10 who are trying to really push Big 10 Commissioner Tony Petitti. Is push the right word? They're trying to coerce him into punishing Michigan. Nothing is going to happen at the NCAA level against Michigan football during this year. It's just not going to happen. Too slow of a process. It is not going to get to that point. Okay? So the NCAA is not going to do anything. The college football playoff, they're not going to keep Michigan out. Michigan's not going to self-impose anything. They've got their best chance to win a national championship in damn near 3 decades. They're not going to do anything about it self-imposed. So it then comes down to the Big Ten. Is the Big Ten going to sanction them? And according to, and I've got this from, and I got to make sure I get the right source here, Nicole Auerbach from The Athletic, who's also the Big Ten insider for NBC Sports and NBC's Big Ten broadcasts. She tweets today that a source briefed on the Big Ten coaches call featured an airing of grievances. One coach said, quote, "The playing field is not level right now. How can you have a team that you know is a competitive advantage over you still being allowed to play?" That's what the coaches are grappling with. Additionally, we have a report here from, and I got to go find where this is from. That call was, by the way, with Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten. I also saw a report from earlier today that essentially said Petitti is going to lose the entire conference except for Michigan if he does not bring the banhammer down on the Wolverines right now. Now, Matt Brown, friend of the program, the author of the Extra Points newsletter, he added today, and this is from a story and confirming the details from the story written by Nicole Auerbach at The Athletic, that despite frustration from all corners of the conference, sources at 4 different Big Ten schools said they do not expect the conference to levy any sort of punishment against Michigan before the season ends. I think if you wanted to tell me I am against any form of cheating, and I think this sign-stealing scandal is awful, and you should bring the hammer down on Michigan because no form of cheating should be accepted, and that's the way you feel, honestly, I get it. I totally understand where you're coming from. I do not blame you at all for feeling that way. At the same time, this investigation in the grand scheme of things just started. This is not something that's been developing. This isn't the KUIARP case, right? Like, this is not that. This is not something that's been going on for 4, 5, close to 6 years at this point. This is something that has boiled up in the last, month? Not even month and a half at this point, just the last month. There's still a lot of investigating to do, I'm sure. More details that need to come out, I'm sure. Why are you going to proactively punish someone, preemptively punish someone, some team, some players, for something that you don't even have firm grasps of right now? I don't think that's right. Again, I'm kind of over it. Whatever comes of this is what comes of this, and so be it. That's what it is. But I can't get down with that. And I know, Dan is in the camp where he says, hey, this is funny more than anything. And I agree that it is funny. I know there are some people out there who say, again, I think any form of cheating is terrible and we need to eradicate it, yada, yada. You've got quotes like that from people around football. Matt Rule had a quote about that today. He said, as we tell parents, we're going to teach them how to be young men. I think the first thing we teach them is integrity and honesty. You had Lou Holtz call it deplorable. Lou Holtz back in the media for some reason these last few weeks. Again, I'm just over it, but I don't think you can try to punish a team now before you get the full scope of what exactly happened. That's how I stand on it. If they're going to retroactively change something, let those chips fall where they may. I just think it's dumb that these schools, I get why they do. I think it's dumb to want to punish someone before the investigation is done. And here's the other thing that I will add about this really quickly. What is the brand of Big Ten football? If someone says, what is Big Ten football? You say jokes aside, well, it's tough. That's the way football used to be played. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play defense. They're going to deal with the elements. It's hard-nosed, gritty. That's what Big Ten football is. That's the exact opposite of what these coaches and administrators are acting like right now. It is whine with these people. Maybe beat them. And to be completely honest with you, you're saying, oh, well, they stole our signs. Change your signs. Make an adjustment. Beat them on the field anyway. Because I tell you what, and this was confirmed. This was confirmed early on in this whole process. You know who else has been doing this? Clemson's been doing this. Dabo's been real quiet about this whole thing. And if you think that Clemson or Michigan are the only schools that are doing this, like I said a couple of days ago, I got some property, some beachfront property in Arizona to sell you. Because this is happening all over the place. Maybe not to this grandiose level. This is happening all over the place. I am sure of it. So, yes, did Michigan overstep the lines, the boundaries of what should be acceptable? Yeah, I think that's fair. This Connor Stallions guy, obviously a nut job. Obviously has a problem. But whining and moaning and complaining to your commissioner that you need to save us, give me a break. Grow a spine and give me a break, rest of the Big Ten. We've got a text in from the 785 that says, is it cheating? To the degree that Michigan has allegedly done it, it is. Because, if you're saying, hey, you can steal signs, but you can't use electronics for it, you can't be on the sideline filming it, anything like that, then yeah, this Connor Stallions guy went over the top. That is cheating. That is inappropriate. But again, if all those other Big Ten schools are saying, well, we've never done this, I don't know. Maybe they never had their own Connor Stallions, but if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And I'm not trying to endorse it. I'm not. You might be a K-State fan and say, of course, the KU guy feels this way, in which case, fair enough. But I just think that it's so complainy. It's so unnecessarily whiny. Beat them. Go beat them. You don't like that they're stealing your signs? Go beat them. Because who cares if they know what you're doing if they can't stop it? No one else has figured that out at this point, I guess, if you're another team in the Big Ten. Final headline. Yes, I was right. I was spot on. We have a texter from the 785. You know they're cheating at Kansas. I'm not going to say that. I don't know that they are. What I do know is that stuff like this happens all over the place. We've had this NIL discussion over and over, right, guys? Like now they're just paying players and all this. Guys have been paying players forever. Now it's above board at least. At least we know where the money is coming from and where it's going. We know all those things now. That's for the best. This stuff's been happening forever. It really has been. I guess I should offer a mea culpa. I can't tell you specifically. Yes, I know that these 4 Big 12 schools and these other 6 Big 10 schools, I can't tell you that. So I cannot confirm this text. But I am certain that all across the country, you're seeing stuff like this. I am absolutely certain of it. One last headline I wanted to get to. Did you know the World Series ended last night? That's right. The Texas Rangers, they are, for the first time ever in franchise history, 62-year drought, World Series champions. That is 4 World Series titles for Bruce Bochy, tied for the 3rd most of any manager in Major League Baseball history. I was wondering the other night, I guess it was last night, in fact, while I was watching the game, and I only watched the last couple innings. I got home after the KU game and I threw it on for a little bit. If you've got the 3rd most World Series championships of any manager in World Series history, and you've won World Series with 2 different franchises, are you a Hall of Famer? Should you be in the Hall of Fame? And I think Bochy's the most fascinating case because Bruce Bochy, for all the success he's had in the last 15 years now, he's got a losing record as a manager. He's 8 games under 500 for his career as a manager. I don't think you're getting in the Hall of Fame with a losing record, but I thought it was an interesting thing to note. This was probably the most forgettable baseball playoffs that I can remember. Ironic wording there, but you know what I mean. I thought this season was a lot of fun. I thought this was a great season of Major League Baseball. Part of that was the rule changes, more balls in play. The pitch clock, I think, was a rousing success for most people around baseball. And I think that contributed to it. My favorite team was better. If you're a Royals fan, maybe you don't feel this way. My favorite team was better. They were competitive at least into September before gagging it away. Thanks, Cubs. But these playoffs just blowout after blowout after blowout. Not a lot of interest, not a lot of star power. And I'm more than a casual baseball fan. I mean, I love the sport, but I wasn't really gripped by the matchup between Diamondbacks and Rangers. I don't know. I congratulate the Rangers. Corey Seager is your World Series MVP. He's just the fourth player to ever win 2 World Series MVPs, or multiple, I should say. Maybe that's the right phrasing for it. I've always been a big Corey Seager fan, so good for him. Cool story for the Rangers. Proof that, yes, you don't have to go through a decade-long rebuild. Royals, you can just go out and get better players and win more quickly. Royals. But this baseball postseason come, 5 years from now? Are we going to remember anything from it? Are there going to be more than maybe 1 or 2 moments from the entire postseason that you remember? I might remember Adolis Garcia going nuts for a few games before he got hurt in the World Series. That might be it that I remember from this World Series and from this entire playoffs, which is unfortunate on the back end of what was an absolutely sensational baseball season. But for the first time in franchise history, the Texas Rangers, they are your World Series champions. That'll do it for today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. Coming up on the other side of the break, we'll get you a quick TNF preview, and then we will hear from Mitch Holthus later this hour on 580 Sports Talk. A quick Thursday night football preview for you. It's Steelers versus Titans coming up tonight. Amazon Prime Video is where you can watch the game. Steelers are at home at the big ketchup bottle, as Chris Berman would call it, even though it's not Heinz Field anymore. They're favored by 3 at home, and I'm taking the Steelers in this one. I thought Will Levis was awesome a week ago. You heard me on the show say that, hey, right now he's better than Desmond Ridder. Now that bar is on the ground. It is so low, in fact. But rookie quarterback with an iffy offensive line, not a great group of playmakers, not a great defense to the tune that Tennessee's had been great over the last couple of years, against a Pittsburgh team with an absolutely miserable offense. Miserable. Brett Coleman, who we've talked about before, film analyst, covers all things football. He's got a YouTube channel. He does a great job with it. He had a video titled something this week to the effect of, watching the Steelers offense will make you hate football. And yeah, that's pretty much what it's like watching the Steelers offense. But I do like Kenny Pickett. I do think that Steelers defense is nasty, especially with Cameron Hayward coming back, finally back from injury, activated this week. That's a big boost for them. And that defense and that coaching staff against a rookie quarterback and a mediocre team on a short week at home. I like Pittsburgh in that matchup. And I think I would take Pittsburgh to cover the 3 points as well. Thursday night games get wonky so often, but I'll stick with Pittsburgh. More often than not, going with Mike Tomlin in a close game is a fairly sure thing. So give me Pittsburgh tonight, -3 against Tennessee. Coming up on Sunday morning, the Kansas City Chiefs will be in Frankfurt, Germany, taking on the Miami Dolphins. We'll preview that game with the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, coming up next on 580 Sports Talk. Back on 580 Sports Talk, late Thursday afternoon. Brendan and Dan here with you, wrapping things up per usual. And with that, it's time to get to our favorite segment of the week with the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Mitch's appearances here on 580 Sports Talk brought to you by both Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. And a trip across the pond coming up for Mitch this week as well, as the Chiefs are headed to Germany for their first ever game in Germany. And Mitch, first thing I've got for you before we get to the football itself, have you ever been to Germany before?
I have not, but I'm excited for it, because of my ancestry, and I've been able to trace it pretty close on my paternal side, that it's mostly north of Schleswig-Holstein and the Hamburg area. So when the NFL Europe League was, the Hamburg Sea Devils were my favorite team. But Hamburg, Hanover, up in that area. Excited to go. Never been there, but excited, and we're leaving here in just a couple of hours.
How has this Chiefs organization embraced playing this game? Because, for the NFL, it makes a lot of sense, try to develop fan bases all over the world, find new fans all over the world, and Germany's got an awesome NFL fan base as it is. But how are the Chiefs really embracing this opportunity?
Well, let's talk about the long form here. There's a long-term side to this, and on Channel 13 on WIBW, they do the television version of the Minute with Mitch. and I actually alluded to it on the radio version that you guys play. But the fact that Germany is such an important market now for the Kansas City Chiefs and vice versa. You did mention, I mean, there's 88 million German people. 20% are as into the NFL of American football as anybody listening to this program. Then there's like a nutsy group of 4 million Germans that are like really into it, and like really, really into it. So we've done German podcasts for months. This game has been in the planning for a year. I share a mini sub office in the practice facility, which is so jam-packed, but with two guys who spend, including Lucas Boyd, who is a graduate of Seaman High School, great soccer player for Seaman, and a lot of folks are nodding their head of like, he's a good dude. Cass is even better, his wife, both Seaman Vikings. But he spends a good portion of his time on special projects, which means he's working on Germany a lot. I don't know about his percentage of time, but Lucas would be a great guest to have on sometime, maybe in the off season, about the Chiefs in Germany and why it's so important. We have 6 deals now with German companies as far as partnerships. The Chiefs are number 1 in Germany in merchandise sales in this global marketing program that the NFL has. And so this game is so important in and of itself, is a bigger meaning of this conduit that exists between not only the NFL in Germany, but the Kansas City Chiefs in Germany. And the German people want more games. They're going to get more games. That's a whole nother discussion. That's next week's Minute with Mitch in the bye week. I'll discuss where I think is ahead for the NFL. But Germany can't get enough of American football. And right now, much of Germany can't get enough of the Chiefs.
Much like many Americans cannot get enough of the Kansas City Chiefs. As for the
I'll tell you one of the biggest things, and you'll see some around Topeka now, but if the biggest selling item is the German flag with the Chiefs logo in the middle of it. I put it on the Minute with Mitch. I put it up as a B-roll because the German flag is the Chiefs colors. It's red stripe, gold stripe, black stripe, and you put that logo in the middle, it was like meant to be. So there's just another example of the tie between the German people and Kansas City Chiefs.
I was going to say, Mitch, with the actual football action in mind, obviously this game against the Dolphins is massive, and we'll get to every element of that here in just a second. But I did want to get just a closing thought on that game against the Broncos. I think a stunner to pretty much everyone who knows anything about the Chiefs-Broncos rivalry in recent memory, kind of shocked about how that game unfolded. What can the Chiefs themselves learn from that performance and try to turn into a positive going forward, especially against another really tough opponent coming up this week?
Well, there's a lot of younger guys on this team, and the fact that there's this international game that gets into next week's Minute with Mitch, and we can discuss it next week. We can have a bye-week show and talk globally here, literally. But there were so many distractions in that game. It's going to sound like an excuse. And my Bronco fan, Chuck Ross in Silver Lake, who had to languish through 8 years and 16 straight losses to the Chiefs, he's gonna like, come on, dude, don't make excuses. And I don't want to make excuses because the Denver Broncos were ready to play. I felt like the Chiefs were distracted. I felt like they didn't take Denver for granted, but they're like, hey, can we just get another 19-8 victory and go to Germany? Because I've got 100 things to think about Germany, and none of it has to do with the Dolphins. And that's my assertion. There needs to be a bye week almost before and after every international game because of the distractions. Then you throw in that the Broncos had a very good plan. Javonte Williams was up and running. What did the Chiefs learn? One, these younger players learned that it's no longer college football. Rashid Rice drops a pass, it's going to be an 18-yard gain. In SMU, you may get that back on the next snap or two or the next series. In the NFL, you may not, because the Broncos will hold the ball for 8.5 minutes and you get very few snaps in the second half. You get one possession in the third quarter. Well, don't drop the pass of the one possession you get in the third quarter. So the margin is slight in the National Football League. Coach talks about it all the time, but until you feel the pain of one of those, you really can't fully appreciate it.
Joining us is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, here on 580 Sports Talk. He joins us weekly throughout the Kansas City Chiefs season, thanks to our friends
at Azura Credit Union and Hy-Vee. Mitch, looking ahead now to the Miami Dolphins, one of the more fascinating, one of the more entertaining teams in the NFL. Out to a 6-2 start, same as the Chiefs. They've done it with some eyebrow-raising offensive performances to date. What is, to you, the most fascinating element of what the Dolphins do and how they match up against the Chiefs?
I'm going to give you another bigger picture answer, and it's your first nugget of the night. Because the Miami Dolphins, now for a Chiefs opponent, the Denver Broncos had a bigger objective than just winning that game, and that was to break the 16-game losing streak against a hated rival. So that means, oh yeah, there's the game, but there's this overlying surge that's going to try to, we need this game. The Dolphins have that same motivation. The Dolphins, who are trying to say, hey, we belong in this discussion when you talk about, oh, the Chiefs and the Bills and the Bengals and the Ravens, we need to be in that same discussion. But here's what the Dolphins have to prove this week. This is the bigger story here. Their last 12 victories for the Miami Dolphins wrapped around last year, the 6 this year, have all been against teams with losing records when they played them, or a 500 team in there. They've not beaten a winning team when they played them. So the caveat here of the detractors against the Mammals is the fact that, oh, you're putting up stats against poor teams. They put a 70 burger on Denver before Denver's defense got figured out. But you play good teams like the Philadelphia Eagles and the Bills, and you get crushed. So call us when you beat a team like that. Well, guess what? This game in Germany is a team like that. If the Dolphins beat the Chiefs, they now join the party of all those AFC guys that I talked about. And here's the other thing for the Dolphins. They lived suffering under the 20-year, basically, domination of their division by the Patriots. And then once that started to lift, the Bills take over. And the Dolphins are trying to jump back in. They have a proud tradition and history. Dan Marino, undefeated Dolphins, blah, blah, blah. But that's generation ago. They're trying to prove that they belong now. And this game is a huge game for Miami in that regard.
Obviously, much will be made about one player on that Dolphins offense, in particular, Tyreek Hill, and his first meeting against the Chiefs. I'm sure that Tyreek is massively disappointed that this game isn't at Arrowhead Stadium. I'm sure he would have loved nothing more than to show out in front of Chiefs fans in a new uniform. How do the Chiefs approach that matchup? Obviously, they're going to say all the right things going into this week, but Hill is a player that must be accounted for, on pace for nearly 2,000 receiving yards this year. How does the Chiefs secondary, the Chiefs defense, approach this matchup against this elite wide receiver?
I'm going to give you a weird answer. Is don't focus on it. You got to deal with it. But he's part of a whole list of guys you have to deal with. You know where you're really getting in trouble against the Dolphins, and it's not to disparage Tyreek, because you have to deal with him. So that's probably not right wordage. But I think if I give you the answer, you're gonna hear, okay, I see what he's trying to do here. I mean, Tyreek's on his way to having the best year in NFL history. He has 1,014 receiving yards in 8 weeks. That's the most of any receiver in the Super Bowl era after 8 weeks. He's just having a gigantic year. But a big reason he's having a gigantic year, and when they start exploding on people like they did on the Broncos, it is their running game. Their running game, more than any of the other 31 teams in the NFL, can be as explosive as a passing game. Hear me out. Here's another nugget for the night. There have only been 14 50-yard runs in the first 8 weeks of the NFL schedule for all the teams. The Dolphins have 4 of them. Now, the Chiefs are catching a break. They're not getting Devon Achane, who is the rookie from Texas A&M, who is super electric. But they're getting Raheem Mostert, and they're getting these other dudes that if you give them a crack, they run for 75 yards. Now, you've got to deal with Tyreek. I'm not skirting the issue. And there's another stat coming at you that where Tyreek gets his big plays, and it's that big play that he did not make against the Eagles where he dropped the touchdown. But if you let these guys hit home runs in the run game, you got no chance. So you have to not just – if you focus on Tyreek Hill, and let these other dudes go, including Jalen Watson, you're going to be in for a long day.
We're chatting with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk, as he does throughout the Chiefs season on Thursday afternoons, brought to you by both Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. One final thought, Mitch, about this Chiefs defense matching up with the Dolphin offense, and really it's more Dolphin-focused than anything. What do you think of Tua Tagovailoa? I've always been a big fan of his, going back to his Alabama days. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's very talented. He's in a system that I think fits his skill set very well right now, called by Mike McDaniel. But what do you make of the Dolphins starting quarterback?
Well, let me give you one of the bigger nuggets of the night. You realize the ball comes out from Tua faster than anybody in the league now.
Yep.
We talked about it with Trevor Lawrence. It's 2.28 seconds. It's out of there. Now, what happened to Tyreek Hill that changed his career? It started in Kansas City. Remember, he's just a kick returner guy. And, he'll run a double move, jet chip wasp. His life changed, and Andy Reid changed it because he moved him inside in the slot a lot, and including trips. If you put him inside as the third guy in trips, you can't match on him with the corner. You get caught up in the wash. You can run picks. You can do 1,000 things. Think of the play where the Chiefs get a first down against the Browns to Tyreek Hill on fourth down to escape a divisional playoff victory in 2021 or 2020. Remember them when Mahomes got hurt and Henne had to make the play. Why did that work? Because it was Tyreek Hill as the inside receiver in trips. What's the closest distance to the quarterback? Inside receiver in trips. I like Tua as a quarterback. I think he has a ways to go, and I think he's in the same discussion with Lamar Jackson. His weakness are 7 routes, deep corner routes, not fades necessarily, and this is where he gets in trouble in the red zone. And that is running a 7 route, which is a down and basically an angle corner route. He's got to make those plays and do it when he doesn't throw it in 2.28 seconds because it takes longer to run that route. He hangs on a little too long and takes unnecessary sacks, which he did against the Chiefs in the 2020 win by Kansas City and Miami. Chiefs sacked him 4 times. Tua gets in trouble too, where it's his release point. He's not a tall dude. I mean, and he's, Patrick's not either, but this isn't Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert. And his release point, and here's where the Chiefs can affect this game. The biggest plays that Tua gets to Tyreek are when Tyreek lines up in that slot position, either in twins where he's in the slot or in trips where he's closest to Tua. Ball comes out fast. You throw a quick slant to Tyreek. He's got cheetah-ness, and he just runs out by everybody or jukes you, and he's gone, or gets a 60-yard play. Now, what the Dolphins can do is put Waddle on the other side, just like the Broncos did, and get him single-sided and run fades. But the Chiefs can affect the physics of these throws as much as tackling him on a sack, and it's because of the release point of Tua Tagovailoa. There's too many passes batted down, or the aerodynamics of the throw gets affected because you get hands up. This Chiefs defensive front is one of the best in the league now at altering passes, either tips or affecting the aerodynamics of the throw. And that becomes one of the strengths for the Chiefs in this game, which is why I'm telling you they can't let Mostert run for 70 yards and a touchdown. You've got to handle that, almost handle it first. But then you can affect Tua's physics at the line of scrimmage without getting a sack. That includes pressures, but hands up, windmill, wind turbine on a wind farm, that's what you've got to be in this game against Tua. You asked, there's your answer.
Last thing I've got for you, Mitch, and it's a point about the Chiefs offense. And for 2 weeks in a row, I thought the Chiefs moved the ball really well. They were obviously fantastic, especially in the first half in the Charger game. I thought the first game against the Broncos, in between the 20s, the Chiefs moved the ball really well in that game, racked up a ton of yardage. Obviously some struggles this past week, and the Broncos did what they could to just take the air out of the ball. What do the Chiefs need to do, and this is for this week and really long-term as well, to find a little bit more consistency with their ability to move the ball?
Much has been said about the 5 turnovers against the Broncos. One was late, desperation. Okay, one's a muff punt by McColl. The other 3, you realize the Chiefs are driving the ball on all 3 of those. Mm-hmm. They are moving the ball. The Chiefs ended up with 9 points, no touchdowns. It's a very real possibility they could have had 30 points in that Bronco game. The drops, the Chiefs have 18 drops, by far the most in the league. I think 31st has 14 or 15. There's another nugget for you. The Rashid Rice drop is lethal in that game because it's going to be an 18-yard catch, and they're driving. They had the blocked field goal, and if they go score, they're going to take the lead and can flip the game. He drops the ball. We know about the dropped corner route from Guy Moore. You've got to play airtight in this game, meaning those have got to go away. You cannot give the Dolphins that opportunity by forfeiting a play. The Chiefs are almost on the opposite side of where they were in 2018, 19, and 20, where they also must run the ball and maybe run a little more conventional style than trying to get a sprint draw to Kadarius Toney or out of the Wildcat or something. And this is a big game for Pacheco. And try to run some more power rows and just power. And if it doesn't work, run it again. I mean, that drive against the Broncos, that first drive 3 and out. The Chiefs are the fewest 3 and outs of any team in the league. You really need that this week because, interestingly enough, you're now on the opposite side of the coin where you need to reduce the opportunities the Dolphins get to do all that stuff we talked about in the last 10 minutes. And so you need to control the ball. You need to be the Broncos having an 8-minute drive and getting a touchdown at the end. Use Mahomes, but use him to control this game. And then when you get a chance, you cannot be loose with it. You can't be MVS, and because you're playing some studs in this Dolphin defense too, guys like Bradley Chubb or the secondary now that has Jalen Ramsey, who had a pick 6 in that game last week, his first game back. Xavier Howard, I think he's going to be back. Eli Apple's in the secondary. But when you get a chance to catch an 18-yarder, you catch it. You snatch it. And if you're MVS and you catch one on a drive that could go down and take the lead, you better protect it once you catch it. So you tighten everything up in this game. You've got to be airtight to beat the Dolphins.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us every Thursday during the Chiefs season here on 580 Sports Talk, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. It'll be Chiefs versus Dolphins from Frankfurt coming up early on Sunday morning. A game, of course, you can catch right here on the Chiefs Radio Network on 580 WIBW. Mitch, we appreciate the time as always. I know this is a crazy week, so thank you for taking the time for us, and enjoy Germany. Should be a blast.
Danke, bis später, and tschüss, Prost. Yeah.
I knew one of those. I definitely knew. I knew Danke. I don't think I knew any of the others. I knew one of those, though.
Bis später, see you soon. And if your tschüss is, okay, see you. That's kind of more common of, see you soon. I'll see you, man. That's kind of that. So that's tschüss, and Prost is, toast. So have a toast on me.
Love it. Mitch, thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, danke.
That is Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Nobody has ever or will ever be better than the one and only Mitch Holthus. We've got to get to one final break. We'll come on back, wrap up 580 Sports Talk with the final word coming up after this. Wrapping up 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon with a quick final word. I'm going to go to last night's exhibition college basketball action for both KU and K-State for my final word today. When it pertains to K-State, which was frankly the more interesting team last night, I really do think, as much as it seems counterintuitive, like not having Naquan Tomlin for the foreseeable future, maybe at all this year, actually solves one of the biggest questions I had about this K-State team going into the season. Do you want to have his talent out there? Yes. And we don't know exactly why he won't be. Not all the details are out. It is what it is. We just know he's not going to be playing for K-State for some time, if at all, this year. But how is he going to be used? What was his offensive role going to be? Is he a huge 3, a small 5? Is he a 4? Can he develop the shot a little bit more? What's he going to be? Well, without him in the mix, the rotation actually becomes a whole lot clearer for K-State. So maybe in the grand scheme of things, kind of looping around, at least short term, this actually ends up benefiting K-State rotation-wise. Meanwhile, for KU, not a lot to take from their game last night against Fort Hays State. Jayhawks can't really shoot the 3, other than Kevin McCullough, apparently, and they are great in the paint and need to pick up the pace defensively a little bit. Well, sounds like a Bill Self team before the regular season starts. That does it for 580 Sports Talk today. We're back with a full show tomorrow from 2 until 6. We've got overtime coming up next. That's right here on 580 WIBW.